Chapter 759. Along the way, Jiang Xiu faintly felt that this place was somewhat familiar, as if he had been here before. Along the way, they were all in the sky, and a group of people were chatting. Jiang Xiu even fought with Shui Wuyao, so he didn't notice where they were. "Where is this?" Jiang Xiu stepped into the tavern and asked the waiter. "Guest, this is the Jialan dynasty." Jiang Xiu was startled. Jialan, no wonder it was familiar. It turned out that he had returned to the place where he dared to return to the immortal martial continent. It was also the place where he met Zhao Rong. This was her hometown, but she had already passed away. "Sect Master has been here before?" After entering the tavern, he casually sat down. Although Yen Shulong's flight was very stable, and he didn't feel any sway, but as long as he was on a moving object, he would feel tired. "I've been here before. At that time, I even borrowed an identity here and had some interactions with the old ancestor of the Jialan dynasty." Jiang Xiu didn't mention Zhao Rong. This was something he wasn't willing to talk about. Towards Zhao Rong, he always felt guilty. He always felt that he had harmed Zhao Rong. Sometimes, he would think that if he had rejected Zhao Rong back then, no matter how her life was, at least she would still be alive. "Do you want to spend the night here?" Jiang Xiu nodded slightly and said, "I'm tired from the journey. Let's stay here for a day." "Okay." As they chatted, the waiter went back to serve the wine. The innkeeper asked, "Who are these people?" "They don't seem to be ordinary people. Especially Fourth Mother, who was full of immortal energy. Her bare feet didn't touch the ground, and her whole body floated on the ground. They should be very strong immortal cultivators." Just now, this little one heard that they all called a man as sect master. They should be from some immortal cultivator sect. Although this wasn't a common occurrence, it didn't surprise them too much. After all, there were too many immortal cultivator sections. Small sects might have a few dozen people, but they still had a sect master. Immortal cultivators can't be offended. Treat them well. This little one understands. Since he was doing business, he naturally had to take extra care of people he couldn't afford to offend in order to avoid causing trouble. However, the shopkeeper was still very curious. "Listen carefully. Which sect are they from?" Immortal cultivators were passing by, and there was even a sect leader among them. Of course, the shopkeeper wanted to befriend them so that his descendants would have a way out if they wanted to cultivate in the future. All right. In addition to Jiang Xiu's group, there were also many guests in the tavern. The Jialan dynasty was an immortal dynasty, so of course, there were many immortal cultivators coming and going. Even if they were not in the sect, there were still many in the imperial court and outside. "Have you heard? A top-notch genius has appeared in the White Jade sect. Everyone is saying that he might be the second under Jiang Lu." Hearing this kind of rumor, Shui Wuyao snorted in disdain. She turned around and said to Jiang Xiu, "Any random person wants to compete with you." Jiang Xiu said, "Then let them compete with you." Shui Wuyao was actually very happy. Who didn't want a bit of fame? Especially when the limelight was snatched away by this person beside her. She was extremely unhappy, but there was nothing she could do. She couldn't compete with him. Yong Xinyong said, "I'm very curious. Which genius can be compared to the sect leader in the past?" In Fourth Mother's eyes, of course, Jiang Xiu was the strongest. Ever since he started as a low-level cultivator, Jiang Xiu had been able to overcome all obstacles along the way. He had always been at the top among his peers. Even if this was not the case, the main thing was that Jiang Xiu's talent was reflected in his stamina. Many so-called geniuses were indeed very stunning in the beginning, but gradually became mediocre. However, Jiang Xiu wasn't like that. He became more and more stunning. Until now, he had been a divine emperor for less than 4,000 years. In the recorded literature, other than those innately monstrous geniuses from the ancient times, or those who were appointed by the heavens, Jiang Xiu's cultivation speed was definitely ranked first. He probably wouldn't come. It's still the Violent Wind Mountain Villa. The young villa master is even more talented. I heard that his cultivation speed is close to Zhang Luoxia's. The world always liked to compare new geniuses with their seniors. They never got tired of it. Bullshit, no one can compare to my brother by. A young girl about 14 or 15 years old walked in from outside. She had bright eyes and white teeth. She was also a little beauty, but her eyes were filled with anger. It was obvious that she didn't like the content of the discussion, or she had different opinions. "Second miss, why have you come?" The servant hurriedly went up to greet her. The young girl ignored the servant and stared at the middle-aged man who said that the Violent Wind Mountain Villa's young villa master was stronger than the White Jade sex by Ruhan. "What right do you have to say that my brother by can't compare to that bullshit young villa master?" The middle-aged man was also a cultivator. Although this young girl looked like a young miss from a large family, he wasn't afraid. "What? You won't let people speak the truth?" Bai Ruhan's talent is indeed good, but how can he compare to the Chenqing School's young villa master, Zhang Luoxia? He's even worse than the Violent Wind Mountain Villa's young villa master. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. The second miss was so angry that she stomped her feet and went crazy. "Who are you? What right do you have to say that? Do you think you're the Consonance Pavilion? Do you think your words are useful? That bullshit young villa master is far worse than my brother Bai. This young girl should know Bai Ruhan." People were always willing to believe what they wanted, so she naturally hoped that her friend was stronger than the young villa master. A month ago, the two geniuses fought at Mount Chiming and Bai Ruhan lost. The two of them are about the same age, so the winner has already been decided. The second miss pointed a white finger at the middle-aged man and said, "Nonsense. Little girl, let's talk about things. You can't be so reckless and unreasonable. Otherwise, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of your parents." The middle-aged man saw that she was being so presumptuous and his heart was filled with anger. "Aya, you were the one who spoke about my brother Bai first. What, do you want to hit me?" The second miss wasn't afraid at all. "If I'm rude, then I'll hit you." As she spoke, she grabbed the wine cup and threw it over. The middle-aged man unsheathed his sword and slashed out, causing the wine cup to fall to the ground. The two of you, please calm down." The middle-aged man's face became gloomy. "Little girl, you dare to attack me? I think you're tired of living and want to die, right?" The sword in his hand was held horizontally as his eyes became even colder. "Want to die?" The second miss sneered. "Do you know who I am? You dare to attack me?" The middle-aged man said, "I don't care who you are, I'll kill you first." The servant hurriedly said, "Guest, you mustn't. This young lady is the second miss of the Shangguan family. You haven't heard that the Shangguan family's eldest miss went to Chenqing School to be a servant girl." Zhang Xiu was originally uninterested, but when he heard this, he suddenly turned his head. The so-called eldest miss of the Shangguan family should be referring to Zhao Rong. Because this place was too far from the Chenqing School, it was normal for the news not to travel here. Then this second miss was Zhao Rong's younger sister. No wonder they looked somewhat similar. For Zhao Rong, he couldn't do anything. Originally, Zhao Rong knelt down to beg him for her family's pardon. Zhao Rong should care about her family very much. Ha ha ha. A burst of laughter came from outside. It was a young man. When Zhang Xiu saw who it was, he couldn't help but think to himself, "Isn't this a coincidence? It's actually someone from the Zhang family. The Shangguan family is so arrogant just because they're a servant girl to my Zhang family. Then what kind of attitude should my Zhang family put on when they go out?" The person who came was Zhang Haochuan from the Zhang family. When he saw this person, Zhang Xiu's eyes narrowed. At that time, he was only borrowing the Zhang family's name. Later on, he fell out with this family who didn't know what was good for them. Now, the Zhang family was actually using his name to swagger around the city. When the second miss saw this person, she didn't dare to be presumptuous. She said with a smile, "So it's the eldest young master of the Zhang family. We're all family." Zhang Haochuan sneered. He looked at the middle-aged man in front of him and said, "Mr. Lai Ao, are you all right?" Lai Ao shook his head and said, "She's just a little girl." How can she make things difficult for me? She's just too presumptuous and too uneducated. Her elder sister is the servant girl to your fourth brother who went to Tianqing school? The second Mrs. Face turned ugly. Her cheeks flushed red. At this time, she was already on the enemy's side. Humph, she's just a servant girl. How dare she be so presumptuous? Quickly come over and apologize to Mr. Lai Ao. Zhang Haochuan said coldly. His tone was very unfriendly. The second Mrs. Face turned even uglier. She felt wronged. She was angry that this person looked down on her brother by. Chapter 760. Second Miss didn't say anything. She didn't think she had done anything wrong. If he could slander her brother by, why couldn't she speak up for him? Although she had gone too far by throwing a cup at a cultivator didn't have any lethality. She was just venting her emotions. What? My words don't work? Zhang Haochuan's face turned cold. In his opinion, the Shangguan family was ordinary because Shangguan Zhaorong was Zhang Xiu's maid. After being ordinary, although there was glory, it couldn't compare with the Zhang family that had produced the fourth young master Zhang. Today, the Zhang family's status in the imperial court was at the level of a duke. From Zhang Haochuan's point of view, the Shangguan family was only at the level of his servant girl. If the servant girl didn't listen to him, wouldn't it be very embarrassing? His gloomy face showed a ruthless expression. How dare you disobey me? Mr. Lai Ao stood proudly on the side, waiting for second Mrs. apology. Second Mrs. Face became more and more ugly. She wasn't a proud daughter of God. It could even be said that her luck wasn't as good as her sister's. If Shangguan Zhaorong hadn't been so beautiful that two young masters of aristocratic families fought over her and then was transferred to the palace, Zhaorong would have gone to the border with her family and cut grass day and night. Although there was family there to take care of her, second Miss had also suffered. It was just that she was a young girl. After the family calmed down, she let herself go a little and acted a little rude, but she still had a sense of propriety. You dare to disobey me? Tomorrow, I'll ask my fourth brother to send your sister back. Let's see how the Shangguan family will deal with it. Second Miss hurriedly said, No, this has nothing to do with my sister. I'll apologize, okay? Zhang Xiu's gaze dimmed. It turned out that Zhaorong's family did not know about her death. The two maids had returned several times but did not report her death. It was probably not because they were lazy, but because they deliberately did not report it. As long as Zhaorong was still enrolled in the Tianqing school, the Shangguan family could still live a good life in the Jialan dynasty. Once they reported that Zhaorong was dead, they would probably be kicked out of the Jialan dynasty, and the people around them would no longer respect the Shangguan family. Xiao Yu and Wang Xinya, the two maids, were really considerate. Ji Wuhua said, These people are too much. Such adults are bullying a little girl. Sect Master, don't make a move? Zhang Xiu did not speak. Xue Wu shook her head and said, Is her older sister really your Tongfang maidservant? Zhang Xiu nodded. Then why don't you help her? Zhang Xiu took a sip of wine and said, She won't be so lucky every time. It just so happens that someone will help her. Today's matter is not serious. She can bear it herself. Second Miss clenched her small fists tightly and came to Ao Lai. She bowed and said, I'm sorry. The moment she lowered her head, it was as if a shiny teardrop slowly fell under the sunlight. This was a teardrop that yielded to power. It fell to the floor and shattered. Young people were all arrogant. Their self-esteem was growing. Today's humiliation had taught her a harsh lesson, but it had also given her great growth. However, what right did Zhang Luo have to bully others just because he was Zhang Luo? Don't forget that back then, Zhang Xiu killed the third son of the Zhang family. When he left the family, his face was already turned. The Zhang family was actually so shameless. After enjoying the honor for so long, the Zhang family should pay their debts. After apologizing, Second Miss turned around and was about to run away. How could she bear such humiliation? She just wanted to find a place to cry. Alas! Yang Xingyong sighed. It's really outrageous. He's not a great master, but this Jiang guy has to bully others and show off his power to show how capable he is. In the eyes of cultivators, martial arts were respected. Everyone was convinced. If you were stronger than me, then you could bully others. However, bullying others with family connections was really contemptible. You stay here first. I'll leave for a while. Before he could finish his sentence, Zhang Xiu disappeared from where he stood. The next moment, he appeared on the rooftop of the street. He watched as the second miss ran out and ran all the way to a deserted corner, hugging her head and crying bitterly. She cried so sadly. Zhang Xiu stood behind her and said, "You're crying just like that?" Second miss was shocked. She turned around and looked at Zhang Xiu. She twitched and said, "Who are you? Why do you care?" Although they were sisters, their personalities were polar opposites. Zhao Rong was self-confident and had a clear mind. However, second miss was more or less unruly. Zhang Xiu said, "I can make Zhang Haochuan kneel and beg for mercy." Second miss wiped her tears. "Go ahead and brag." She didn't dream of making Zhang Haochuan apologize to her. As long as the Zhang family didn't make things difficult for her sister, it would be fine. In her opinion, the Zhang family's status in the Celestial Dynasty was only slightly lower than the imperial family. Other than the current emperor, no one could make Zhang Haochuan apologize to her. Zhang Xiu said, "Why don't you believe me?" Second miss said, "In this world, only the current emperor can make the Zhang family kneel and beg for mercy." "Are you the current emperor?" Obviously, Zhang Xiu wasn't the current emperor. "Don't be a hindrance here. Go back to where you came from." She hadn't cried enough and hadn't completely vented her grievances. Zhang Xiu said, "You're from the Shangguan family? Why are you still asking if you know?" This maid was really unique. Zhang Xiu said, "How's your family?" Zhao Rong cared about her family the most when she was alive. Since Zhang Xiu was here, he might as well solve this problem. With his ability, it was easy for him to give the Shangguan family riches. Compared to what Zhao Rong had done for him, it was nothing. You know my family?" Second miss was surprised that this man cared about her. Maybe he saw that she was meddling in other people's business. However, it was a bit strange that he asked about her family. "Who are you?" Zhang Xiu's eyes flashed with sadness. He said, "Your family's old friends." "How is your family?" Second miss said, "Very well. Ever since my older sister went to Chenqing school and became that person's concubine, our family's reputation has been restored. Because of our relationship with Chenqing school, all forces respect our family and we live comfortably. A few elders in my family have also recovered some of their official positions. Of course, their positions are no longer the same as before. After all, they have lost the emperor's trust. Moreover, the emperor is worried that our family will hold a grudge against them, so they can't be promoted and can only muddle along." The little girl explained the recent situation of her family clearly in a few words. She was indeed a quick-witted person. "Did anyone bully you?" Second miss said, "Didn't you see it? The Zhang family has always been at odds with our family, pointing fingers at our family all day long. It's as if my elder sister has become a concubine of their family, and our family has also become their family's vassal." Zhang Xiu's gaze became even more hazy. Some people were really shameless. They actually did such things behind his back. Weren't they afraid that he would come back to settle the score? "I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't even know who you are. I'm going to find my older brother from the Bai family." Zhang Xiu said, "The genius from the Baiyu sect." Second miss became excited at the mention of that person. "Yes, the Bai family and our family have a good relationship. Brother Bai even gave me candy when I was young. I didn't expect him to be so powerful now. I admire him so much. I think that one day, he will also become a big shot like the leader of Chenqing school. His fame will spread far and wide. As his younger sister, I can also be proud. If that day really comes, those bastards from the Zhang family won't dare to bully our family." After saying that, She walked out of the dark alley. I've also heard of young Master Bai's fame for a long time. Can you take me to meet him? Zhang Xiu asked. Sure enough, second miss stopped in her tracks. You want to meet my older brother from the Bai family? Although it's a bit of a social climb, since you're so sincere, I'll take you there. Zhang Xiu said, That's great. I still have a few friends in the tavern. Can we bring them with us? Second miss was also a straightforward person. Sure, bring them all. Isn't it just a matter of a few more horses? My older brother from the Bai family is very hospitable, especially to fans like you. He's very enthusiastic. Zhang Xiu smiled and transmitted a message to those people. He pulled them along to meet the genius. Chapter 761. Although the White Jade sect was not a large sect, it was not easy for people from the Jialan dynasty to enter. A branch of the White Jade sect was also an official in the Jialan dynasty, which was the Bai family that the second young miss spoke of. The second miss looked at them casually and found that Zhang Xiu's friends were cultivators. Most cultivators were out of the world and felt that they were detached from worldly affairs, so she lowered her guard against them. Naturally, her attitude was better than before. She was in a good mood. Zhang Xiu said a few words that she liked to hear, and she felt that she was going to treat Zhang Xiu as a friend. Today is the day that elder brother Bai is receiving guests. There are many people who want to see his elegance. Of course, there are also a few blind people who want to cause trouble for him and challenge him. That is just asking for humiliation. The second young miss said while riding on her horse. Zhang Xiu's group did not want to be too high profile, so they also rode their horses and followed. Giddy up! The Bai family was in Jialan Imperial City, but this time they were going to the Bai family's courtyard in the outskirts of the city. On a boundless grassland, there was a large manor. It's right in front. Besides Zhang Xiu's group, the sound of horses galloping could be heard everywhere on the grassland. There were also cultivators flying on their swords in the sky, as if they were all rushing over. Zhang Xiu said, Today is a good day? He could see that at the entrance of the large manor, many people had brought gifts. There were even servants recording the gifts as they entered, as if it was a certain old master's birthday. That's right, the Bai family's old master is celebrating his birthday today. The group heard this and felt a headache coming. This little girl was really something. It was someone else's birthday and you were going to play? Who would bring gifts on such a day? No problem, I can bring you guys to eat and drink for free. Shui Wuyao was so angry that she almost stomped her feet. This elder lacked this bit of food and drink because Zhang Luoxia did not know what was wrong with him, wanting to play with a little girl like you. Zhang Xiu chuckled. Pretty good. Shui Wuyao could only suppress her belly full of anger. The other three girls did not know what to say. Su Ying saw that her father was deflated and even covered her mouth to laugh. Shangguan Xiaozhao. The second miss chuckled. Why are you here again? Second miss said, Me? I'm here to see my elder brother Bai. How could this little girl be so blind? From the tone of the gatekeeper, it seemed that he didn't like her at all. Miss Xiaozhao, there are many distinguished guests here today. You have to take it easy. Don't ruin your brother Bai's business. The second miss waved her hand and said, I know. Even the royal family is here. Seeing that the second miss didn't seem to care, the manservant at the door couldn't help but remind her, fearing that this young mistress would cause trouble. I know. She walked in with a group of people. Seeing that all the seats were empty, second miss led Zhang Xiu and the others to occupy the seats. Xiao. She was greeted by a beauty who was slightly older than her. She was about 20 years old. Sister Yenyu. The one who came was called Lu Yenyu. The Lu family was not a small family in the Jialan dynasty. One of their elders had married into the royal family. Little girl, you really know how to choose a date. There will be a good show today. Many important people will come. Even the main branch of the Bai family, the White Jade sect of the Wind region, will send people here. Really? Who did the main branch send? It's an elder called Bai Chanxian. Hearing this, Su Ying's brows immediately furrowed. Wasn't this a coincidence? Enemies were bound to meet. She and Bai Chanxian were mortal enemies. Wasn't it enough that they had fought for so many years in the Wind Prefecture? She actually bumped into her in Jialon. These are... The second miss said, "These are my friends." Lu Yenyu looked at Zhang Xiu's group. Other than Shui Wuyao, who looked gay, the rest of them looked pretty good, especially Fourth Mother and Su Ying, who were so beautiful, while Ji Wuhua had the image of an old man. "Sister Yenyu, come and chat with us." The second miss pulled her over and sat down, completely ignoring the existence of Zhang Xiu and the others. She asked Lu Yenyu, "Sister Yenyu, have you seen my brother from the Bai family?" Lu Yenyu shook her head. "He's not an important person. I don't have the qualifications to see him." A trace of sadness flashed through the second Mrs. eyes. "You can't see him either." The little girl still remembered the Bai family's brother because he had given her a candy when she was young. In addition, this Bai family's brother was very handsome and left an indelible mark on her young heart. In addition, he became more and more outstanding, and became the little girl's Prince Charming. However, their generation didn't even have a single famous person in Green Spirit Mountain. In the eyes of Zhang Xiu and Shui Wuyao, they were far inferior to their generation. Of course, there were some geniuses who didn't go to Green Spirit Mountain, but it was still very difficult for them to enter the eyes of Zhang Xiu and Shui Wuyao. Zhang Xiu and Shui Wuyao's generation was an era of geniuses. In the Ji Dao sect, he wasn't conspicuous at all. Even after he left Green Prefecture, not many people knew about him. However, the degree of his genius was far from what the current generation could compare with. The generation had caused such a result. Their horizons had limited their imagination and the height of their attacks. This was because they couldn't imagine the scene of everyone chasing after each other in Zhang Xiu's generation. Some people said that one generation was always stronger than the previous. However, in reality, things were often worse than the previous generation. This was because the previous generation was always more tolerant of the next generation. Bai family's brother is too powerful. In the future, he will be even more powerful. Lu Yenyu deeply agreed. We should be able to see it today. So many people have come to celebrate the birthday of Bai family's old man. Zhang Xiu secretly shook his head. The weak yearned for the strong. This was human nature. However, this nature was eternal. The Bai family's brother that the second young lady spoke of also yearned for experts stronger than him. He would go and chase after those experts. How would he know that a little girl would be so infatuated with him? Zhang Xiu truly felt that this second young lady was somewhat foolish. However, he also sympathized with her. Only when your Bai family's brother is truly able to rule the world and feel incomparably lonely will he remember that he once had a little sister like you. However, I can help you realize it in advance. Also, whatever your family wants, I can help you realize it. Little Zhao, the seats we are sitting at seem too conspicuous. How about we go to the side? This place is definitely reserved for important people. Lu Yenyu said. The second young lady looked around and felt that this was the case. However, if they were to sit at the corner, how would Bai family's brother notice them? She was determined to not do so. This place is pretty good. While they were talking, a group of horses galloped over from the distant grassland. The leader was a white-clothed youth. His back was as straight as a pole. His bearing was extraordinary. Seeing him, many of the guests present cried out in surprise. The originally noisy atmosphere was simply about to explode. It's Bai family's brother. It's Bai family's brother. The little girl was so excited that she jumped up. It's him. Lu Yenyu was also very excited. Her eyes were wide open. Young Master Bai. Immortal Bai. Shui Wuyao looked at Zhang Xiu and winked at him. In Shui Wuyao's impression, wherever Zhang Xiu was, he would always be the most dazzling star. No one had ever been able to steal his light. However, today, this unknown junior was much more impressive than him. Usually, he wouldn't have the chance to scold him, but today, it was a rare opportunity. The arrival of Bai family's brother was truly accompanied by a large entourage. He was comparable to a celebrity on earth. Bai family's brother. However, the second young lady could only anxiously watch him leave under the escort of the crowd. She didn't even look at them and sat down in disappointment. Bai family's brother is too busy. Jiang Xiu shook his head. Even if he wasn't busy, it wasn't her turn. As his eyes flashed, he heard a very disagreeable voice. Isn't this the second young lady of the Shangguan family? Is this a place where you can sit? Hearing this, everyone looked over. They saw a young man wearing a brocade robe. At first glance, they could tell that he was a descendant of a noble family. Why are there descendants of the Jiang family everywhere we go? The second young lady muttered. Another member of the Jiang family? It was as if the Jiang family really treated the Shangguan family as a servant family. Of course, the Shangguan family wasn't happy, especially the people of the Jiang family branch. The second young lady said angrily, Jiang Rongyang, what does it have to do with you? I can sit wherever I want. Stubborn? Jiang Rongyang was very unhappy. If you know what's good for you, quickly scram. Chapter 762. The second miss was so angry that her whole body was trembling. This was too much. She was the one who came first and there were no rules about who could sit and who couldn't. Why should she give it to her? But was it okay if she didn't? The Jiang clan's influence in the Jialan dynasty was flourishing. Apart from the royalty who could suppress them, there was basically no other clan that dared to go against the Jiang clan head-on. Lu Yenyu stood up and said, Xiao Zhao, forget it. We can't afford to offend the Jiang family. Let's go. The second miss frowned, unconvinced. However, she knew that the situation was better than her. She had already been humiliated during the day. If she continued to argue, she would be the unlucky one. Humph. The second miss stood up angrily. She turned around and said to Jiang Xiu, let's go somewhere else. This made the second miss very embarrassed, but there was nothing she could do. Jiang Xiu stood up and didn't say anything. Xue Wuyao and the others naturally didn't say anything either. They also planned to leave. It wasn't a big deal, but sometimes, a girl who was too beautiful would attract trouble. When Jiang Rongyang saw Yang Xinyang and Su Ying, a strange expression flashed across his face. Wait. The second miss said, what else do you want? We already gave our seats to you. You can leave, but these two girls can't. Although the second miss was young, she understood why. Her expression became even uglier. These two were just friends who met by chance, but because of her. No. Jiang Rongyang sneered. You took my seat and want to leave so easily? How can there be such an easy thing in the world? Lu Yenyu hesitated. Her Lu family had a much higher status than the Shangguan family. Her relationship with the Jiang family was also much better. Especially the main branch of the Jiang family. She believed that if she spoke up, it would be effective. But why should she speak up for these unrelated people? The second miss said, Jiang Rongyang, don't go too far. This is the Bai family. It's not your place to be so impudent. Jiang Rongyang sneered. The Shangguan clan had once been prominent, but now that the Shangguan clan had risen again, it was only because they were servants. Of course, they wouldn't take it seriously, especially those who wanted to gain a sense of superiority in the Shangguan clan. So what if they are impudent? Let these two ladies stay for a few drinks. Jiang Xiu's patience had reached its limit. It was one thing to show off in front of the second miss, but how dare they show off in front of him, Jiang Luoxia? What if we don't? Seeing that Jiang Xiu was angry, second miss pulled him and said, don't make trouble. You can't afford to offend the Jiang family. Leave it to me. They're coming for me. Jiang Rongyang, that's enough. We've already given up our seats. If you continue to bully people, I'll go and talk to the Bai family. Let's see if these guests can be treated like a hooligan by you. These words pierced Jiang Rongyang's heart. Today was a birthday celebration, and it was not his place to be impudent as a collateral member of the Jiang family. However, the Jiang family might have been too powerful recently, and they were a little lawless. So what if I've been treated like a hooligan? My brother Jiang Haochuan will be here in a moment. Even the old master of the Bai family will have to give him face. Jiang Rongyang's eyes were already fixed on Yang Xinyang's face. As he spoke, he actually wanted to pull her away. However, someone reached out and grabbed his wrist. Jiang Ronghao raised his head and saw a cold and indifferent face. Especially that pair of eyes. It was as if an ancient god was looking at an ant on the ground. "Who are you? Let go of me." Jiang Xiu stared at him coldly. The commotion here was a little loud, and now that there was a struggle, some guests gathered around curiously. "Let go." Jiang Rongyang's face was ashen. He struggled with all his strength, but he couldn't open his eyes. "You dare to be impudent with me?" As soon as he finished speaking, he spat out a spell. A rune light flowed down his arm. "Let go!" He roared and shook his hand at the same time. However, his wrist seemed to be tightly clamped by a pair of pliers. He couldn't move at all, as if it was fixed in place. Whoosh! Everyone present exclaimed. It was obvious that Jiang Rongyang had already cast a spell, but he still couldn't break free. "You want me to let go?" Jiang Xiu said coldly. With a swing of his hand, Jiang Rongyang was instantly sent flying. Moreover, he was sent flying in the direction of the banquet in the main hall. With a series of cracking sounds, the long table was overturned, and the pots and pans on the table were scattered all over the ground. Lu Yenyu was also stunned. This person actually dared to hit the young master of the Jiang family. Did he want to die? We're in trouble. The second young mistress covered her mouth in astonishment. This matter was blown out of proportion. He actually hit someone from the Jiang family. This was really big trouble. Hurry up and run. Don't just stand there and watch. The second young mistress said impatiently. Run. Jiang Xiu sneered and stared ahead. Jiang Rongyang got up from the ground angrily and shouted at Jiang Xiu. Brat, you dare to challenge the Jiang family? You're dead meat. As soon as he finished speaking, he looked left and right. He saw someone beside him holding a sword. He reached out and pulled it out. Then, he rushed towards Jiang Xiu. Humph. Jiang Xiu raised his hand slightly. 20 to 30 meters away from him in the sky, Jiang Rongyang saw an incomparably powerful force crushing towards him. At the same time, he couldn't open his eyes and was sent flying backwards. His long sword was pushed out of his hand, and his hands and feet were in a mess. Then, he fell again. An expert. Everyone present could see that Jiang Xiu's cultivation was not low. He actually sent Jiang Rongyang flying through the air. After all, Jiang Rongyang was also a member of the Jiang family. He was at the divine immortal level. Jiang Rongyang also knew that he was no match for Jiang Xiu. After he got up angrily, he no longer went up to fight with him. However, his face alternated between green and white, looking extremely ugly. Just you wait. The second young mistress was very anxious. Hurry up and leave. Jiang Rongyang must have gone to find the Jiang family. However, just as Jiang Rongyang turned around, an angry voice came from outside. Who dares to fight at the Bai family's birthday banquet? Following this voice, a group of people stepped aside, revealing a path. A young man in snow-white clothes walked in slowly. Master Bai. Immortal Bai. Everyone saw the person clearly. When the second young mistress saw this handsome man, she couldn't help but be dazed. She said in a daze and panic, "It's Brother Bai." She had imagined countless scenarios where she would meet Brother Bai again, but she never thought that it would be like this. Master Bai, it's him and them. Not only did they steal my original seat, they even dared to fight with the Jiang family. Jiang Rongyang said angrily. You're the master of the Jiang family? Brother Bai was a little surprised. Jiang Rongyang said, I'm Jiang Rongyang of the Jiang family. Master Jiang, please calm down. Let the Bai family handle this. He slowly walked to the center of the hall. His gaze swept across Zhang Xiu and the others. The second young mistress opened her mouth, but no words came out. Do you know that today is my great master's birthday? The second young mistress nodded dumbly. Since you know, why did you still cause trouble in the Bai family? You're not giving the Bai family any face. The second young mistress said hurriedly, No, it's not like that. It's him. He forced us to give up our seats. We gave it to him, but he still acted like a hooligan and was rude to my friends. That's why we were able to fight. Master Bai's sharp eyes flashed. After thinking for a while, he said, You're not welcome here. You can leave. The second young mistress was stunned. Brother Bai, you're chasing me away? Yes, please leave. My Bai family doesn't welcome you. The second young mistress was very sad. I came especially to see you. Don't you remember me? Master Bai said in a low voice. Listen to my advice. You've offended the Zhang family. You should leave as soon as possible. Zhang Rongchuan will be here soon. If you're late, you won't be able to leave even if you want to. Zhang Rongchuan. Zhang Xiu sneered. I'm afraid that when he sees me, he'll kneel down and beg for mercy. Wow. Everyone present was in an uproar when they heard this. What a big tone. The Zhang family was the most powerful family in Jialan, and Zhang Rongchuan was Zhang Chonghai's direct son. This person really didn't know what was good for him. Who dares to say that when I, Zhang Rongchuan, see him, I'll kneel down? A domineering voice sounded. Master Zhang. Master Zhang is here. For a moment, the crowd exclaimed and crowded around him. The direct son of the Zhang family was very impressive. Chapter 763. Zhang Haochuan looked around the room, looking very majestic. He didn't take Zhang Xiu's words to heart. In his eyes, they were just arrogant people who could be dealt with later. However, he had to deal with so many distinguished guests. He couldn't lose his composure. Second Miss was shocked. Oh no, Zhang Haochuan really came. The Zhang family has been looking for a chance to make things difficult for our Shangguan family. We're in trouble now. Sister Yenyu, you have to help me. Lu Yenyu helplessly raised her head and said, If it was just Zhang Rongyang, my words would be useful. But Zhang Haochuan is a direct descendant of the Zhang family. Even the princes are afraid of him, let alone me. Sister, forgive me for not being able to help. Second Miss said anxiously, Then what should we do? Lu Yenyu said, The only thing we can do now is to listen to my advice and leave quickly. You're just strangers who met by chance. They caused this trouble themselves. Zhang Xiu's ears were very sharp. He said, Yes, Miss Shangguan. This matter has nothing to do with you. I was the one who did it. You can leave first. Second Miss said, How can I do that? After all, you're a friend I brought here. Zhang Xiu smiled faintly. It was true that family members would not enter the same house. This little girl was somewhat similar to Zhao Rong. Don't worry, I won't let anything happen to you. I will also bestow your entire family with riches and honor that surpasses that of the imperial family of Callan. Are you crazy? Second Miss wondered if this person was crazy. At this moment, Zhang Haochuan had already walked over. When he saw young Master Bai, he bowed and said, Young Master Bai, I'm sorry. My Zhang family will be arrogant in your territory today. Young Master Bai also bowed deeply and said, Someone was rude first. Young Master Zhang is also trying to protect the Zhang family's face. Young Master Zhang, you can do whatever you want. The Bai family has nothing to say. Zhang Haochuan expressed his gratitude and bowed to him again. The show was done in all aspects, as if everything was already under his control. He looked at the handsome young master of the Bai family and said solemnly, Thank you. He finally turned around and looked at Zhang Xiu. The moment he saw Zhang Xiu, he felt as if his whole world had darkened. He felt as if his whole brain had exploded, and he felt as if he had lost consciousness. He had never expected to see Jiang Xiu here. He had never expected that this person, who should have gone to Qianqing school and would never come back, would appear in front of him. Jiang. This person was just a saint who allowed him to stay at his house temporarily, but they made things difficult for him. In the end, he went to Qianqing school. When he left, he had already turned against them. He even killed his third brother. Now, the Jiang family was using his name to do whatever they wanted. Furthermore, he even dared to act all high and mighty in front of this person. He was well aware of how vicious this person's methods were. In the past, he dared to kill without any backing. Now that he had the backing of a major sect, the Sky Motion sect, even the Kalan Emperor did not dare to provoke him. If he were to offend him now, the consequences would be unimaginable. Especially when he saw his indifferent and emotionless eyes, he was scared out of his wits. He remembered what Jiang Xiu had said just now. He wanted him to kneel and beg for mercy. Plop. His knees bent and he knelt down heavily. Wow! A stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. Everyone was stunned at this moment. Zhang Haochuan actually knelt down in front of this person. The second miss opened her eyes wide and stretched her neck. Her face was full of disbelief. Beside her, Lu Yenyu's expression also froze. Master Bai was also shocked. After the uproar, the noisy banquet hall became silent. The atmosphere was very strange. Zhang Haochuan, you've grown up. Jiang Xiu's tone was unusually cold. In the past, the Jiang family of Kalan Empire only took advantage of the fact that they had the same surname as Jiang Xiu. That was why the Emperor of Kalan Empire had arranged for Jiang Xiu to stay in his house. However, he had been troubled in every way. Originally, Jiang Xiu had killed his third son and destroyed Jiang Chonghai's cultivation, so that the Jiang family's grievances could be resolved. However, he did not expect that the Jiang family would use his name to do whatever they wanted in Kalan Empire. Was it so easy to use his name? Not to mention, they even bullied the Zhaorong family. No, I don't know. Did I say you could speak? Jiang Xiu interrupted coldly. Zhang Haochuan lowered his head and did not dare to say anything else. Everyone was guessing who Jiang Xiu was. The second young mistress was dumbfounded. The Jiang family's disciples, who usually acted like tyrants, were actually like mice seeing a cat when they saw him. What exactly was his background? The Jiang family was not even afraid of the Emperor of Kalan Empire. Jiang. Lu Yenyu recalled that Zhang Haochuan had just called Jiang Xiu Jiang. Could it be that he was also a member of the Jiang family? Moreover, his position in the family was higher than Zhang Haochuan's. However, as far as Lu Yenyu knew, the head of the Jiang family had 4 sons. One had been killed, and the other was the genius who went to the Qianqing school. The only ones left were Zhang Haochuan and the other one who was stationed outside. The Jiang family did not seem to have such a person. Using my name, they are doing well in Kalan Empire. Zhang Haochuan trembled when he heard this. His heart was filled with sorrow. Once Jiang Xiu came back and revealed the truth, the Jiang family would lose their biggest support. Of course, the royal family would no longer give them face, and the dignitaries would no longer take them seriously. Instead, the Jiang family would offend the family of the genius of the Qianqing school. They would be hated by everyone. Thinking of the huge difference and the huge consequences, he almost fainted. Your Excellency, please calm down. Please calm down. At this moment, the cold sweat on Zhang Haochuan's forehead kept dripping down. The ground he was crawling on was completely soaked. Get out. Jiang Xiu scolded angrily. The Jiang family will not let you off so easily. Zhang Haochuan wanted to say something, but when the words reached his mouth, he could not say anything. He could not even come up with an excuse. In the end, he ran away in fear. Zhang Rongyang, who had been standing in place for a long time, was completely dumbfounded. Seeing Zhang Haochuan run away, he asked in confusion, "Brother, why are you so afraid of him?" "Our Zhang family has never been afraid of anyone." Slap. Jiang Haochuan was so angry that he slapped his brother's face hard, sending him flying. His eyes were filled with anger as if he wanted to eat someone. Get out of here. The Jiang family is dead because of you. If this bastard didn't mess with Jiang Xiu, the Jiang family might still have a chance to hide it from Jiang Xiu. Now, they were probably finished. After the Jiang family left the banquet hall, the hall was in an uproar again. Everyone was talking about Jiang Xiu and his people. Master Bai said, everyone, it's okay now. Just sit down and do what you should do. Don't just stand there and watch. After that, he looked at Jiang Xiu in surprise. He wondered if he should mend the relationship with Jiang Xiu. However, he had just asked him to leave. Oh my God! What the hell is going on? The second lady finally realized. Just now, Jiang Haochuan knelt down in front of you. Who the hell are you? The way Lu Yenyu looked at Jiang Xiu had changed greatly. She couldn't move her eyes away from Jiang Xiu's face. She was also waiting for Jiang Xiu's answer. Jiang Xiu said, I'm just a passerby. The second lady said, a passerby? I remember you said you knew my family. Are you a friend of my family? Her face was full of joy. If she had such a friend in her family, she wouldn't have to be afraid of the Jiang family anymore. Yes. After Jiang Haochuan left, he immediately sent someone to monitor Jiang Xiu's reaction. He knew that Jiang Xiu didn't reveal his identity at first, nor did he reveal his non-existent relationship with the Jiang family. Therefore, he got in touch with his family at once. The only thing he could do now was to take the risk. If he wanted the Jiang family to continue living a rich life and keep this secret for a long time, the best way and the only way was to make Jiang Xiu disappear. Therefore, he had to invite a master to assassinate Jiang Xiu. In the banquet hall, the old man of the Bai family finally appeared under the escort of many people. Today was his birthday. Not only did the imperial family and some of his friends from the cultivation world come, even the main branch of the Bai family in the distant Wen province would come. This person was Bai Qianqian, the true disciple of the White Jade sect. She was dressed in snow-white clothes and looked as graceful as a fairy. Immortal Bai, please come in. Old master, you're welcome. Chapter 764. Seeing Su Ying stand up and walk outside, Shui Wuyao asked curiously, Daughter, where are you going? Do you want Daddy to accompany you? Su Ying said, No need, I'm settling some personal grudges. The enmity between Su Ying and Bai Qianqian originated from the fact that the White Jade sect considered themselves to be an orthodox sect, while Ming Du was an evil sect in their eyes. In addition, both of them were top-notch beauties. Before they even met, they had already become enemies due to external interference. Later on, when they fought, the enmity grew deeper and deeper. It's time to settle it. She left with large strides and walked into the distance. With a light tap of her foot, she turned into a cloud of black smoke and floated out, landing on a roof somewhere. He he he. Su Ying's unique laughter rang out, and it clearly fell into Bai Qianqian's ears. Bai Qianqian's expression changed drastically. She did not care about being polite with the Bai family's old man and rushed out. Looking for the sound, a white light flashed and landed opposite of Su Ying. She saw Su Ying leaning against the roof, her waist turned sideways, and her curvaceous figure was completely exposed. Seeing her unrestrained posture, Bai Qianqian's anger rose from her heart. A witch will be a witch, acting coquettishly and ruining the atmosphere. Su Ying said, Bai Qianqian, don't always act like you're from an orthodox sect. She stood up angrily. Let's not talk about whether Ming Du is the demon you're talking about. Even if he is, so what? Then you're still a demon. Su Ying was so angry that the veins on her forehead were popping out. She had stayed in Ming Du for so many years, and had long regarded Ming Du as her second home. Moreover, she did not think that all the people in Ming Du were demons. There were also very kind people in Ming Du. Nonsense, Bai Qianqian. If we're talking about whether a sect is an orthodox sect, you're far inferior to me. Bai Qianqian sneered and snorted. Her expression was full of disdain. Seeing this, Su Ying almost could not help but want to attack. Mingdu's demons dare to compare to my White Jade sect? Su Ying said angrily, your White Jade sect is just a medium-sized sect. It's not even worthy of carrying my real sect's shoes. Nonsense. Bai Chanqian almost exploded. Demonis, how dare you insult my sect? Take this. Again. Su Ying had always been on par with her. They had fought for so many years without any results. Once, both of them were seriously injured. However, Su Ying's cultivation wasn't limited to this. In order to enter the Nether Crossing realm, she sealed more than half of her Immortal Tribulation School's cultivation so that she couldn't use the school's secret arts. You are no match for me. Witch, don't be so insolent. Seeing Bai Chanqian's sword coming, a bright light flashed through Su Ying's eyes. It was incomparably vast and pure. This was definitely not an evil spell like Mingdu's. At the same time, she activated her spell. After fighting so many times, Bai Chanqian knew Su Ying's methods like the back of her hand, but she had never seen such a situation. Sword like thunder. Floating mountain fantasy. Su Ying turned into 2 golden escape lights. With just a few flashes, a golden sword light was launched. At the same time, the sword gesture in her hand moved. Ah! There was a scream. Bai Chanqian didn't expect this. When she blocked the golden sword light, Su Ying's sword finger knocked hard on the sword. This flick was like several mountains. It was so heavy that she couldn't even raise her arm. What? Su Ying didn't wait for her to react. She had already slapped her murderer. B*TCH, I've tolerated you for a long time. You keep calling me witch. Bai Chanqian flew out and stopped her body after a long distance. She was suspended in the void. Her eyes were angry and annoyed. After fighting with Su Ying so many times, this was the most thorough defeat. She glared angrily. What kind of witchcraft is this? Su Ying said, Immortal Crossing Realm. It's a proper immortal's secret art. Immortal Crossing Realm? Bai Chanqian was stunned. Su Ying's power just now was vast and upright. It was very different from Mingdu's dark methods. No, it's impossible. Immortal Crossing Realm is an ancient sect. How can you know the Immortal Crossing Realm's magic? Su Ying puffed up her chest and said proudly, I am a true disciple of Immortal Crossing Realm. Nonsense. Bai Chanqian rebuked angrily. Why don't you believe me? Su Ying said, My father is the Immortal King, an elder of Immortal Crossing Realm. Wind, fog, dust, rain, and mist. Bai Chanqian was stunned. She wouldn't believe it even if she was beaten to death. But Su Ying's vast and upright magic power just now was definitely not something that she had cultivated temporarily. And the Immortal Crossing Realm's magic would never be spread. But she still didn't believe it. What evidence do you have? Evidence? Su Ying smiled proudly and said, My father's family is here. What? You said the Immortal King's mist is here? Su Ying said arrogantly, That's right, Bai Chanqian. I come from a more prestigious family than you. What else do you have to say? In the future, if you dare to call me witch again, I will tear your mouth apart. Bai Chanqian's anger was stuck in her chest. Her pretty face turned pale. What's so great about it? But after thinking about it, she still didn't quite believe it. Are you really from Immortal Crossing Realm? Su Ying pondered for a moment and said, I was originally from Immortal Crossing Realm. But something happened a while ago, so I have already joined another sect. Which is which? Bai Chanqian muttered softly. She didn't dare to curse in front of Su Ying now. She couldn't beat her now. One person, one sect. How can you change sects so casually? Su Ying said very frankly, I had no choice. My father wanted to change sects, so I could only follow him. But it is also a big sect. Although it's not as good as Immortal Crossing Realm, it is now at the peak of its power. What sect? Su Ying replied, Tianqing School. Logically speaking, Tianqing School couldn't compare to Immortal Crossing Realm in terms of fame. But Immortal Crossing Realm was different from before. And Tianqing School had Zhang Luoxia, who was already a divine emperor. In today's world, divine emperors almost existed in legends. It was foreseeable that in the future, Tianqing School would be even more glorious. Tianqing School. He seems to be in Tianqing School too. Who? Bai Qianqian said, Zhang Xiu. Su Ying smiled meaningfully. Judging from Bai Qianqian's expression, she probably didn't know that Zhang Xiu was Zhang Luoxia, the all-powerful leader of Tianqing School. That's great. Didn't you agree to be his maid? Now that you are in the same sect, success will come naturally. As she said this, Bai Qianqian smiled proudly. She had already gotten rid of this curse. Let me tell you, he already promised me that he doesn't need me to be his maid anymore. Su Ying shook her head and said, You will regret it. After saying this, she didn't want to stay any longer. She could have been Zhang Xiu's maid, but she was Shui Wuyao's daughter. How could Zhang Xiu accept Shui Wuyao's daughter as a maid? No one would accept a friend's daughter as a maid. Therefore, from the moment Zhang Xiu found out that she was Shui Wuyao's daughter, she, Su Ying, couldn't get closer to Zhang Luoxia. Her identity would always be a friend's daughter. Regret. Bai Qianqian shouted at her back. I think you're stupid. Su Ying replied, The leader of Tianqing School is also here. After saying this, her figure blurred and disappeared into the sky. What? The leader of Tianqing School is also here? Bai Qianqian was shocked. Zhang Luoxia is here. This was really serious. Should I inform old Master Bai? Wait, could it be that Su Ying is deliberately playing with me? When she returned, the guests of the Bai family arrived one after another. She came as a representative of the White Jade sect, the main branch of the Bai family. Old Master Bai treated her like a sect leader. Where did you go? You're making this old man look for you. Bai Qianqian was a little absent-minded. According to Su Ying, not only was Shui Wuyao here, but Zhang Luoxia was also here. These two were immortal kings among immortal kings. Their reputations were much greater than the leader of the White Jade sect, especially Zhang Luoxia. He was really well known. A pair of beautiful eyes searched for traces of them in the banquet hall. At the same time, the people of the Jialan royal family were coming from the imperial city. This trip was to celebrate Old Master Bai's birthday. Originally, they didn't have such treatment, but recently, this young master of the Bai family was very popular. Everyone said that he was a super genius. Some people even compared him to Zhang Luoxia from Tianqing School. What kind of person was Zhang Luoxia? Since he had such potential, the royal family naturally had to show enough attention. It was hard to guarantee that one day he wouldn't be able to fly. Chapter 765. Seeing the majestic arrival of the royal family, everyone rushed to line up to greet them. In Zhang Xiu's eyes, the royal family was no different from an ant. But in the eyes of these people, the royal family was the sky. They were supreme, and everyone had to flatter and bow to them. Old Master Bai and the guests all rushed out. Not long after, Zhang Xiu saw his old acquaintance, the Emperor of Kalan Empire. Beside him was an important minister, Zhang Chonghai. It was a coincidence that they were all here today, saving Zhang Xiu a lot of trouble. When the royal family arrived, they naturally sat in the highest seats, accompanied by a group of ministers. Because the Bai family was the host, their seats were also very high, almost equal to that of a duke. Where is Bai Ruhan of the Bai family? The Emperor of Kalan Empire asked. When the young master of the Bai family heard this, he immediately got up from his seat and quickly walked to the front of the emperor and bowed. Bai Ruhan of the Bai family greets your majesty. After seeing Bai Ruhan, the Kalan emperor nodded his head in satisfaction. It wasn't because of Bai Ruhan's character and appearance, but because of Bai Ruhan's respect towards him. Many geniuses were arrogant and didn't even put the imperial family in their eyes. For example, Zhang Xiu, who went to the Sky Motion sect, didn't even take the Kalan imperial family seriously. He even fought with the royal family for the right to enter the Chenqing school. Hateful. However, since he had already gone to the Chenqing school, his future achievements would be unpredictable. Therefore, the Emperor of Kalan Empire put down his face and favored the Zhang family. Although he knew that Zhang Xiu did not have any real relationship with the Zhang family, Zhang Xiu had stayed in the Zhang family for a while. Under Zhang Chonghai's deliberate manipulation, it gave people the impression that he had a good relationship with Zhang Xiu. Even when his son was killed and he was crippled, it was because of this that the royal family took good care of the Zhang family. "How is your cultivation speed?" the Kalan emperor asked. Although this person might not be as lucky as Zhang Xiu to be selected by Tianqing school, his family background was more advantageous than Zhang Xiu's. As a branch of the Bai family, the Baiyu sect naturally valued him more. He is ranked 17th in terms of cultivation speed among the sect's ancestors. Whoosh! The crowd was in an uproar. This was incredible. Although the White Jade sect was a medium-sized sect, it had been in the big sects before. The sect had also produced many geniuses. To be able to be ranked 17th in history was really amazing. Shui Wuyao was also secretly shocked. If he was talking about the sect's historical ranking and not the current ranking, then it was almost certain that he was the current number one. Being number one in the sect was indeed amazing. Although his overall cultivation speed couldn't be compared to Shui Wuyao, he was still number one. Shui Wuyao was so vulgar. Therefore, he was especially jealous of Zhang Luoxia. Shui Wuyao was completely unranked among the ancestors of the Immortal Tribulation sect. However, the Immortal Tribulation sect wasn't an ordinary sect. It had produced many geniuses and had once led the world. Even the number one in the White Jade sect might not be able to be ranked in the top 10,000 of the Immortal Tribulation sect. Even the small White Jade sect is ranked in the top 10. How can he be compared to the sect master? Su Ying, on the other hand, was very disdainful. Zhang Xiu's cultivation speed was no longer limited to the Immortal King realm. He had become a divine emperor in less than 4,000 years. This speed was probably the fastest in the history of the Immortal Tribulation sect. He was probably the first in the Immortal Martial realm. Unfortunately, there was no record of the speed of becoming a divine emperor. In fact, let alone speed records, there was no record of the speed of becoming a divine emperor. It only existed in legends. Who is worse than my father? Shui Wuyao didn't like these words. How can you say that? After saying that, he even glared at Zhang Xiu. Wasn't this clearly telling others that he wasn't as good as Zhang Luoxia? Embarrassing. Hee hee. Su Ying stuck out her tongue. Among the high-ranking people, Bai Qianqian was still searching for Su Ying's whereabouts, as well as Shui Wuyao and Zhang Luoxia. Although the banquet was big, she could still find them. Her gaze froze. She saw Su Ying. She saw Su Ying joking intimately with a gay man. It was said that Shui Wuyao was such a gay man. However, no one dared to look down on him, let alone his sword. Immortal kings all had strange habits. Their appearances matched. This person should be Shui Wuyao. Zhang Xiu? Why is he here? Bai Qianqian hesitated for a moment. In the end, she didn't go over to greet Zhang Xiu. He was with Su Ying now and she had finally gotten rid of his servant girl's request. She didn't want to see him. Not bad at all. The Kalan Emperor praised by Ruhan. Come, reward her. As an emperor, he naturally had to have the bearing of an emperor. He couldn't just say nice things. He had to do it. Thank you, Your Majesty. Everyone in the Bai family was overjoyed. This could be considered the emperor's grace. Receiving a reward without even making a single contribution was something that had never happened before. However, Bai Ruohan unexpectedly said, Your Majesty, Bai Ruohan does not dare to accept the reward. Oh. The Kalan Emperor frowned. She didn't want to accept his good intentions? Since ancient times, everyone who received a reward had contributed to the Kalan Empire. Bai Ruhan has not contributed at all. She doesn't dare to. Hearing this, the Kalan emperor smiled and said, "What's the harm in that? How about this, since the sky is clear today, I will set up a reward arena. Whoever wins will get the reward." It was just a gimmick, but it was perfectly justified. "Your Majesty is wise." A group of people immediately began to flatter. Bai Ruhan originally wanted to show her strength, and the Kalan emperor's decision was just what she wanted. The emperor said, "Bai Ruhan, you have to give it your all. Who knows, there might be people who covet the treasure I bestowed." Immediately, there were people who came down to spar with her, while the people below quietly watched Bai Ruhan show off on the arena. Supreme Immortal. A person walked over. Zhang Xiu felt that he looked familiar. He seemed to be someone from the Zhang family. "Supreme Immortal Zhang, I heard that you've returned. My family head specially came to invite you." This person's face was a bit nervous. Zhang Xiu was here, so he definitely couldn't reveal anything. Once it was revealed, the Zhang family would be finished. He came to invite Zhang Xiu, so the pressure would be great. "Oh, Zhang Chonghai wants to see me?" Zhang Xiu looked at this person with interest. Without thinking much, he stood up and asked, "Where do you want to see me?" Zhang Chonghai naturally didn't dare to meet him openly. "Outside the banquet hall. Lead the way." That person was overjoyed and led the way. Shui Wuyao and the others didn't follow. There was no need for that. They might as well stay here and watch the show. They walked all the way outside the banquet hall. Their seats were a bit far away. "Zhang Xiu." Following this voice, Zhang Chonghai slowly walked out from the back. Zhang Haochuan followed behind him. Both father and son had gloomy faces. Although Zhang Chonghai's cultivation was crippled by Zhang Xiu, his status had skyrocketed over the years. His aura was much stronger than before, and he looked like a high-ranking official. "It's been a long time." Zhang Xiu's eyes swept over indifferently. "Your Zhang family sure has guts. You actually dare to use my name to act like a tyrant in Kalan." Zhang Xiu didn't answer. What Zhang Xiu said was true. He muttered, "This is what my Zhang family deserves. You killed my son and crippled my cultivation. It's nothing for my Zhang family to get this." Zhang Xiu snorted coldly. "Unfortunately, your good days are over." Zhang Chonghai didn't panic. "Zhang Xiu, aren't you doing well in Tianqing school? Why did you come back? You don't belong here in the first place." Zhang Xiu said, "You don't seem to be afraid." Zhang Chonghai said, "Why should I be afraid? If I stand out and tell others that I have nothing to do with your Zhang family, and that I'm even your enemy, what do you think the people outside and the royal family of Kalan will think of you?" Zhang Chonghai was still very calm. "That's why I won't let you speak." "Oh." Zhang Chonghai's eyes flashed with murderous intent. "If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for coming back. Now, I can only let you die here. That way, everyone will think that the fourth son of my Zhang family will always be in Tianqing school." "Oh, really? Are you sure?" Zhang Xiu was already a god back then. Although Tianqing school was a big school, even if one's cultivation improved by leaps and bounds, there was still a limit. It wasn't to the extent that he couldn't even assassinate someone. "Come out." Several people appeared out of thin air. Zhang Xiu had seen one of them in the tavern before. It was the cultivator named Lai Ao. The other people's cultivation wasn't weak either. Chapter 766. Zhang Chonghai knew how powerful Zhang Xiu was. At that time, Zhang Xiu's cultivation level was very low, but he was still able to defeat an upper celestial immortal. Therefore, he spent a great deal of effort to invite these people over. He wanted to kill Zhang Xiu directly. There could not be any accidents. The future of the Zhang family depended on it. Zhang Xiu's eyes were cold. He shook his head lightly. "People are never satisfied. Back then, I had already let your family go. I could have kept everything, but you crossed the line to enjoy the glory that did not belong to you." Jiang Chonghai said coldly, "Stop talking nonsense. Die." As soon as he finished speaking, a strange sound came from one of his mouth. There was a rumbling sound, and a cloud of dust spread out. In a moment, it covered the entire area and covered the sky. In the next moment, a huge sword-colored sword swept up a golden light, enveloping one of them. Body and sword became one, turning into a golden light that rushed towards Jiang Xiu. Whoosh! A sound was heard. As the golden sword flew, the surrounding heaven and earth yuan qi surged. In an instant, it flashed across the sky. They had long heard of Jiang Xiu's power. Back then, he broke through in the face of death. It could be seen that his will was very strong. This kind of person was very difficult to kill. In addition, they were afraid that Jiang Xiu would escape, so they killed him as soon as they came. When Jiang Xiu saw this sword technique, there was no expression on his face. If he was still at the cultivation level when he was in Jialan, this sword could really take his life. But now, he just slowly raised his hand and pointed at the huge sword flying towards him. He felt the scene in front of him fluctuate. Then, he saw the sword rainbow that rushed towards him break into pieces. It was like a pile of sand that was blown away by the wind, drifting away. Even the sword disappeared without a trace. What? Everyone who saw this scene cried out in surprise. They felt a chill go from their backs to the top of their heads. He killed an upper heavenly immortal just by pointing at the air? What kind of cultivation level was this? Was he a late-stage upper heavenly immortal or a great heavenly immortal? No, it's impossible. Jiang Chonghai roared in shock. You can't improve so fast, Jiang Xiu said. Is it fast? He took a step forward, and the light of runes rippled under his feet. Layers of ripple-like ripples spread out in the originally cloudy sky. The clouds then disappeared, and the sky became clear again. Raising his head, he saw a person pouncing towards him from the sky. Jiang Xiu raised his hand, and a violent vortex appeared in his palm, pulling the person into the void. Instantly, the person struggled with all his might. However, as Jiang Xiu twisted his finger, the person's face contorted in pain, and he screamed in agony. Ah! He felt the air around him tighten, and his entire body began to twist. With a bang, he exploded into a ball of blood in the air. At the same time, a blue light flickered in the sky, and the aftermath of the collapsing space instantly surged over like a tide. Jiang Xiu thought to himself, "Space laws, this is rare." However, he could be considered to have met his ancestor today. With just a sweep of his eyes, there was a roar, and a huge suction that looked like a spatial rift of more than 10 feet appeared. It directly strangled the blue light, and then flesh and blood fell all over the sky. Jiang Xiu was strolling leisurely, killing one person with each step. He was cold and silent, but his momentum was like a mad demon, making people tremble in fear and tremble in body and soul. Impossible, this is impossible. A group of 7 masters, and the Zhang family had paid a huge price to invite them every time. In the blink of an eye, 3 of them were killed by Jiang Xiu, and it was so easy. How could they be willing to believe that Jiang Xiu, who was only a few years old, was actually so powerful? He took another step, and another person died directly. Jiang Chonghai was so scared that he sat on the ground. His son, Jiang Haochuan, was also completely scared out of his wits. Jiang Xiu was now so powerful that the assassination plan he had set up had turned into an extremely stupid act of suicide. There was no room for maneuver. In front of Jiang Xiu, there was no chance at all. He even cast a spell, and the blue jade seal flashed and turned into dust. He was too strong. Almost any spell in front of him would be destroyed directly, let alone people. In the blink of an eye, the so-called masters were almost all killed. Lai Ao, who had met once in the tavern, saw this situation and no longer had the courage to fight. He didn't even have the time to escape. No, it has nothing to do with me. Jiang Xiu walked over step by step, and Lai Ao was so scared that he fell to the ground. He saw Jiang Xiu's palm coming over, and there seemed to be a bottomless hole in his palm, sucked in by a suction force. Thinking of the person who was strangled to death, he completely collapsed and shouted, "Don't kill me!" Just at this moment, a burst of cheers came from outside. In the banquet hall, a person was ruthlessly shot down from the sky and fell heavily to the ground. Bai Ruhan floated down gracefully. Her elegance was incomparably dazzling, causing the surrounding people to gasp in admiration. "Good!" the Kalan emperor shouted, giving Bai Ruhan a lot of face. This olive branch was very obvious, and the Bai family naturally felt it. Immediately, the Bai family's children felt a lot of face, and the Bai family's old man's cheeks turned red. He was so excited that his clenched fists trembled slightly. Bai Ruhan bowed deeply to the defeated opponent, and her attitude was very sincere. Then she looked around and shouted a very domineering sentence. "Who else?" Someone immediately shouted, "Young Master Bai was unparalleled, and his talent far surpassed Zhang Luoxia's. How could we servants be your opponent?" "We don't dare, we don't dare." Someone echoed, "That's right, going up would only be a disgrace." Ha ha ha. The Bai family didn't feel good when they heard this. Zhang Xiu coldly smiled and said, "If you don't want to die, then I'll give you a chance. Defeat Bai Ruhan and you can live." After saying this, he swung his hand, and Lai Ao was thrown out like an object. "Who else?" With a thump, a person fell from the sky and landed heavily on the ground. He had seen all kinds of pretentious ways to get on the stage, but this was the first time he had seen someone fall directly onto the stage. "It's him." The second Miss eyes were sharp, and she immediately recognized the person who fell onto the stage. "There's a good show to watch." Shui Wuyao couldn't help but laugh. Lai Ao hurriedly climbed up from the ground. Zhang Xiu's words were still echoing in his ears. If he could win, he would live. This time, he had to go all out. He said to Bai Ruhan, "I've heard that young Master Bai is a genius. I, Lai Ao, would like to give you some pointers." Bai Ruhan looked at him from head to toe. "Well said, well said." On the side, Jiang Chonghai and Jiang Haochuan were already scared stiff. They looked at Zhang Xiu as if they had seen a ghost, and their faces were pale. Zhang Xiu asked, "You want to kill me?" The two's eyes were dull, as if they had lost their parents. Not only did they fail to act pretentious, they were also beaten. "What about now?" Zhang Xiu's eyes and cruel methods were as ruthless as a demon's. Human lives were worth less than grass in front of him. If the current Zhang Xiu wanted to kill them, it would be a piece of cake. They were clear that they were finished. "Humph!" Zhang Xiu chuckled, but he didn't kill them, nor did he make things difficult for them. The best way to deal with a person was not to kill them immediately. They knew that they were going to die, but they were still alive. A person's despair before death was the most painful. Enjoy your last moments. This would torture them until they went crazy. The father and son's faces didn't have the slightest hint of joy. Instead, they looked even uglier. They were worried, and their eyes were dull. Everything they had was already ruined. "Why didn't you kill us immediately? Are you torturing us?" Zhang Xiu stopped in his tracks. "Yes, I will definitely kill you. However, I will let you taste the pain before death. If you have the courage, you can also commit suicide." Commit suicide. Both of them were stunned. A bad life was better than a good death. How could they commit suicide by slitting their own throats? "Demon, you are a demon." Zhang Xiu was already far away, leaving only the father and son of the Zhang family. The two lay on the ground, trembling like mud. Zhang Chonghai curled up his body. "No, I can't die, I can't. Dad, I don't want to die either." The two of them got up from the ground, but the next moment, Zhang Xiu's terrifying eyes appeared in their minds. Ah! Suddenly, one of Zhang Chonghai's legs was broken. This time it's the leg. Next time, it may be the neck. Chapter 767. Now, his leg was broken, and next, his head would be chopped off. Life and death were in Zhang Xiu's hands. Zhang Chonghai's face was pale, his lips were trembling, and his eyes were unfocused. He had completely lost his spirit. Zhang Haochuan's face was ashen. Just a moment ago, he was flaunting his power in the tavern, playing with the Zhang family and using Zhang Xiu's name to do whatever he wanted. At this moment, his retribution had arrived. In the banquet hall, Bai Ruhan's mood was also very bad. Suddenly, a person came up and went all out. All of his attacks were full of killing intent, and he didn't even care if he was injured. It was a determination that both sides would suffer. Even if he died, he would drag you down with him. It was so ruthless that it made people's hair stand on end and confused. Lai Ao's gaze was ferocious. Silver light suddenly spread out, turning into a silver mist that enveloped Bai Ruhan. The next moment, the silver mist was about to wrap her up. At the same time, Lai Ao's hands shot out spells one after another in a frenzy. The faces of the Bai family members changed when they saw how merciless the killing blow was. The Emperor of Kalan Empire stood up. This battle was a show. It was a grace that he had given to the Bai family. How could there be someone who didn't know how to adapt to the situation? Who is this person? The Emperor of Kalan Empire flew into a rage. I'm not sure. The ministers present all shook their heads. God knows where this idiot came from. Even if you win, even if you get the Emperor's gift, so what? Do you think you'll have a good time? He was really stupid. Bai Ruhan was surrounded by the silver mist, and his face showed panic. Although he was known as a genius and wasn't weak, he was still too young. His cultivation was short, and his realm was limited. In other words, he didn't have the advantage against an elder like Lai Ao. He was even a little frightened by his opponent's aura. Stop! The Bai family members on the side all stood up nervously and shouted. Even the Emperor of Kalan Empire almost stood up. Lai Ao couldn't hear anything. In his mind, he was thinking about his companions who were easily killed by Zhang Xiu. The huge fear in his heart just now needed to be vented. One spell after another mercilessly rushed over. Stop! Who would have thought that this person would actually go crazy? And when the Zhang father and son who had returned to the banquet saw this scene, they were all dumbfounded. Lai Ao was invited by them. If he were to kill someone, not only would Lai Ao be in trouble, their Zhang family would also be implicated. At that time, it would not only be the two of them who would die, but the entire Zhang family would also be punished. Damn it, Zhang Xiu, he was really ruthless. Hide, shield. Seeing that the other party was about to attack, Bai Ruhan's expression greatly changed. However, a female voice suddenly sounded out and a rune appeared in front of the spell. In a flash, the rune turned into a barrier. Boom! Countless spells blasted onto the barrier, but it was Bai Chanqian who came to his rescue. At the same time, several other people flew up and attacked as well. They had finally saved Bai Ruhan. Seeing this, Lai Ao finally reacted. He seemed to have overreacted. But his face was still red and his heart couldn't calm down for a long time. His eyes were chasing after Zhang Xiu, Zhang Luoxia. He wanted to tell Zhang Xiu that he had won. If he won, he wouldn't have to die. I lost. Bai Ruhan's face was pale. He had lost this round very miserably. He was suppressed by the opponent's aura from the beginning. Then, he was chased all the way. If it wasn't for someone saving him, he might have even died in the opponent's hands. Humph! The Kalan Emperor coldly snorted. At this moment, his heart was burning with anger. A good plan had been ruined by someone. He opened his mouth and said, "Who are you?" Lai Ao slowly calmed down and realized the seriousness of the problem. He bowed to the Kalan Emperor and said, "I am Lai Ao. I set up this situation with the intention of letting the younger generation fight. I'm afraid your lifespan is close to 2,000 years. You have the nerve to attack a new junior?" Lai Ao's expression was ugly. Bullying the young, it wasn't glorious at all. With his age, he should be at the same level as the Kalan Emperor. You even tried to kill him. The Kalan Emperor was very angry. What should I do? Lai Ao hurriedly bowed and said, Your Majesty, please calm down. Aye. He looked around but couldn't find Jiang Xiu. What should he do? It's boring for an elder to come out and compete. The next round doesn't count. Since His Majesty had said so, of course, everyone agreed. However, as the saying goes, Lord Daojun is not joking. Although it was a little unsightly for the elder to bully the younger generation, he had said that anyone could participate. Who wouldn't want a reward? However, he was the emperor. Whatever he said was the truth. Hey, Callan Emperor? I think it's more appropriate to call him the Callan Clown. A voice suddenly sounded. The tone was extremely disrespectful and even humiliating. Everyone's expression changed when they heard the voice. Who dares to humiliate the emperor? Some people roared angrily and stood out. They seemed to want to protect the emperor, but also seemed to want to punish him. What is it? Did I say something wrong? Just now, I heard it clearly. It clearly said that whoever wins will get the reward, but it didn't say anything about age. Following that voice, an alluring woman walked out. It was Su Ying. Demon. It's you. Bai Chanxian suddenly remembered that Su Ying wasn't a demon girl. She was from a famous sect. Speaking of which, she was a little envious. Her sect was far inferior to Su Ying. Bai Chanxian wanted to reprimand her, but she remembered that her father was here. He was an immortal king and couldn't be offended. How dare you? The people beside the Callan Emperor scolded angrily. How dare you offend the emperor? The second young miss and Lu Yenyu were completely dumbfounded. Did this big sister take the wrong medicine? How dare she meddle in the emperor's business? Was she not afraid of death? So what if she offended him? You! The armored man on the side scolded angrily. Take her down. With that order, the armored soldiers spread out and surrounded Su Ying, ready to take action. Bai Chanxian said, Callan Emperor, we can't afford to offend this person. Let her go. Can't afford to offend? The Callan Emperor was the sky of Callan. Was there anyone in Callan that he couldn't afford to offend? What a joke. The Callan dynasty had stood here for so many years and had a great immortal ancestor behind them. Moreover, the ancestor was about to become an immortal king. There was someone he couldn't afford to offend. Ha ha ha. The Callan Emperor raised his head and laughed. Fairy Bai, you're exaggerating. Bai Chanxian shook her head helplessly and looked deeply at Su Ying. She didn't understand why Su Ying would support this person. Indeed, we can't afford to offend him. Little girl, what's your background? The Callan Emperor wasn't a rash person. Since Bai Chanxian said so again and again, this little girl must be extraordinary. Therefore, he patiently asked. Su Ying bowed her head. I don't have any background. My father is called Shui Wuyao. Hua! The crowd went into an uproar. Feng Wuchen Wuyao? The immortal king of the immortal tribulation sect. The Callan Emperor's expression changed. He looked at Su Ying in disbelief. Your father is really Shui Wuyao? It's the real deal. While they were talking, another person walked out. It was Shui Wuyao. Seeing him, everyone present couldn't remain calm. Immortal king. How many people had never seen an immortal king in their entire lives? Not to mention an immortal king, even the old ancestor of great celestial immortal Jialan had never seen one before. Truly shocking. Cold sweat dripped down the Callan Emperor's forehead. Next was Yang Xingyang. Su Ying said, My martial aunt, the elder of the immortal tribulation sect, Yang Xingyang. Hua! Another wave of exclamations. Another immortal king. At this moment, everyone was a little dazed. Second Miss and Lu Yenyu were completely stunned on the spot. These people were the elders of the immortal tribulation sect? Oh my God! And one of the three most powerful immortal doctors, Ji Wuhua. Three immortal kings. The Callan Emperor's entire body trembled. His legs trembled and he almost couldn't stand. He was about to kneel. Seeing that everyone had come out, the gay-looking Shui Wuyao saw that Zhang Xiu still hadn't shown up. He shouted, "Zhang Luoxia, what do you plan to do with this person?" "Zhang Luoxia." The Kalan Emperor fell to his knees with a plop. Exploding, completely exploding. Chapter 768. Zhang Luoxia. This name was too shocking and resounding. Almost no one didn't know about it. However, that was the high and mighty sect master of a super sect, descending from the 9 mysteries to cleanse the heavens. 1,000 years of work. Was it really Zhang Luoxia? They didn't dare to believe that such a big shot would come to the Kalan dynasty. The Kalan emperor had knelt down. In front of such a big shot, he could only kneel. He definitely wouldn't believe it if it was someone else, but the one who said it was Mi Wu Yao. How could the words of an immortal king be false? Moreover, it was a serious matter. "I said that as long as he can win, I will let him live." An indifferent voice sounded. Everyone's nerves tensed up. They opened their eyes wide, wanting to see Zhang Luoxia's glory. He. Lai Ao was stunned. He is Zhang Luoxia. The Zhang family's father and son, second miss, and Lu Yenyu were all stunned. The person who came with us is Zhang Luoxia. Among the crowd, Zhang Xiu walked over unhurriedly. At this moment, he displayed the domineering aura of a divine emperor. Every movement of his contained the unfathomable laws of heaven and earth. Those who had seen Zhang Xiu before, especially the Kalan emperor, were shocked. "You are Zhang Luoxia?" "We pay our respects to sect master Zhang." Subdued. The sect master of a super sect, the #1 genius in 3,000 years, and the many battles that everyone was familiar with, had created Zhang Luoxia's unparalleled prestige. Zhang Xiu. The Emperor of Kalan finally called out Zhang Xiu's name after a long while. Zhang Xiu now gave him the aura of a sovereign descending upon the world. That powerful aura emanated from him as if the entire world was subdued beneath his feet. It's been a long time. Everyone paid attention to Zhang Xiu who was walking over. Is it really Zhang Xiu? Bai Chanqian was also dumbfounded. How could he be Zhang Luoxia? He was clearly Zhang Xiu. Moreover, this aura, this bearing, even the sect leader of the White Jade sect and many big shots she had seen before couldn't compare at all. Bai Chanqian looked at Su Ying inquiringly, only to see Su Ying smile smugly. Such a good opportunity was placed in front of you, but you didn't cherish it. Seeing such a smile, Bai Chanqian's heart sank. He really was Zhang Luoxia. Thinking back to everything that had happened in Qingling Mountain, Zhang Xiu was truly possessed by an intelligent demon. He had forcefully driven Lu Li's master, immortal King Hua Luiying, crazy. Now that he thought about it, everything had become reasonable. In this world, perhaps only Zhang Luoxia had such strength. Oh my God! Bai Chanqian held her head in her hands. What did she miss? She actually refused to be Zhang Luoxia's maid and brushed past such an expert who stood at the top of the pyramid. Being Zhang Luoxia's maid, her status was probably even more impressive than that of sect leader Bai Yu. "You can leave." Lai Ao was overjoyed. "Thank you for not killing me, sect leader Zhang." At this moment, the father and son of the Zhang family were completely dumbfounded. This Zhang Xiu who had once lived in their home was actually the all-powerful Zhang Luoxia. Once upon a time, if they had taken care of Zhang Xiu, then the Zhang family. The confusion and shock in their eyes gradually turned into endless regret. How could this be? Back then, Tianqing School had strangely recruited disciples. Could it be that they were looking for him? "Are you Zhang Xiu or Zhang Luoxia?" The Kalan Emperor asked. Zhang Xiu said, "This sovereign is both Zhang Xiu and Zhang Luoxia. When this sovereign was in trouble, I befriended your ancestor and temporarily lent you Kalan, but I didn't expect. The Kalan dynasty didn't treat him well either." The Kalan Emperor's face turned pale. You really are Zhang Xiu. Then my elder sister." The second young mistress finally reacted in a daze. She looked at Zhang Xiu, her eyes filled with fear. Zhang Xiu said, "Your elder sister is this sovereign's maid." Hua! The underground people all started whispering. They knew that Shangguan Zhao Rong was Zhang Xiu's live-in maid. There was a huge difference between a maid and a live-in maid. The difference between a maid and a live-in maid was huge. The second young mistress's eyes sparkled. Her joy was not as great as her shock. She felt like she was dreaming. The Shangguan family called her Zhang Luoxia's maid. Zhang Luoxia's maid had a higher status than the sect master of a mid-sized sect, not to mention the Kalan emperor. "Oh my God!" She covered her mouth in joy. "Then are you from the Zhang family?" Zhang Xiu's gaze coldly swept over the father and son. "This sovereign has nothing to do with the so-called Zhang family. We even have a grudge." With these words, the Zhang family's father and son were completely defeated. "That's great." The second young mistress cheered happily. She had been oppressed by the Zhang family for many years. Now, she finally didn't have to be bullied anymore. Moreover, she could even take revenge. "Zhang Chonghai, how dare you lie to this sovereign?" The people below all began to whisper. They had been sucking up to the Zhang family for many years and had also been bullied by the Zhang family. It turned out that they had all been deceived by the Zhang family. "Sect Master Zhang, how should we deal with this father and son?" The Kalan emperor didn't dare to act rashly in front of Zhang Xiu. Zhang Xiu said faintly, "Chop it off. Take them away and execute them." The Zhang family's father and son collapsed on the ground. This time, Zhang Xiu really wanted to execute them because the show was over. As for their families, they would naturally be dealt with by the major clans in Kalan. "Sect Master Zhang, is my elder sister doing well?" "She hasn't been home for a long time and hasn't sent any messages back." The second young mistress was overjoyed when she saw the Zhang family's father and son being executed. "Your elder sister is doing well." Zhang Xiu looked up at the sky. "Zhao Rong has served this sovereign very well. If your Shangguan family has any requests, you can raise them." Everyone present looked at Xiao Zhao with envy. The Shangguan family was going to prosper. In the future, even the imperial family wouldn't dare to go against them. Not many people in the entire immortal martial continent would dare to offend them. He had Zhang Luo as his backer when he was having fun. The second young mistress thought for a while and said, "Xiao Zhao can't think of anything right now. Let the elders in the family decide." Zhang Xiu said, "Since you can't think of anything, this sovereign will bestow upon your Shangguan family unlimited wealth. As long as the Qianqing school doesn't fall, your Shangguan family will be able to enjoy the protection of the Qianqing school." The second young mistress was overjoyed. "Many thanks, Sect Master Zhang." This honor was not small. With Zhang Luo's words, the average person would not dare to touch the Shangguan family. The sect master had personally spoken in front of everyone and announced this to Jia Lan. It could be seen that the sect master attached great importance to her and that Shangguan Zhao Rong was favored. No one would have thought that Zhao Rong was already dead. "You may rise." Zhang Xiu saw that the matter had been settled and that he had achieved the result he wanted, so he planned to leave. The people of the Kalan dynasty naturally wanted him to stay, but Zhang Xiu's fate with the Kalan dynasty was already over, so he waved his hand and left. Bai Qianqian really wanted to go up and say a few words to Zhang Xiu, or say that she was willing to be his servant. However, she understood that this was already impossible. Even speaking a few words to Zhang Xiu had become a luxury. She had already missed the opportunity. Suing said, "You must be very regretful." This time, Bai Qianqian didn't talk back. Her eyes were a bit sad. A chance to soar had just passed by. She would definitely be filled with regret. "Let's go." A terrifying bestial roar resounded in the sky. Zhang Luoxia had already taken to the sky and left. Xue Wuyao, Ji Wuhua, Yang Xinyang, and the others all followed, with Suing at the back. 4 immortal kings. Ever since the establishment of the Kalan dynasty, there had never been such a grand occasion. This day was enough to be recorded in the history of the Kalan dynasty. Let's return to Qianqing School. Zhang Xiu calmed his emotions and said. Several days later, the Qianqing mountain range was right in front of them. Other than Shui Wuyao, no one else had come to Qianqing School. In the future, this would be their home. They stretched their necks in anticipation. This is the Qianqing mountain range. After leaving for several months, Zhang Xiu was also eager to return home. Yan Xulong, the Qianqing School is just ahead. Hurry up. Roar. The roar of the demon resounded throughout the Qianqing mountain range. A group of Qianqing School elders immediately flew out from various places. Demon attack. It's the sect master. The sect master is back. They saw Zhang Xiu standing proudly on top of the demon, and there were several people with him. Let's go down. The group immediately landed in the main hall. All the elders had already rushed over. Zhang Xiu said casually, Shui Wuyao, Yang Xinyang, and Ji Wuhua will be our sect's immortal king elders from now on. Yan Xulong will be the guardian demon, and Su Ying will be a direct disciple for the time being. Yes. Everyone nodded in agreement. Elder of Law Enforcement, Lu Chongkong, Jian Yi, and the others were all stunned. He went out and brought back 3 immortal kings and an immortal king-level demon. This. Chapter 769. The Qianqing School had lost a total of 4 immortal kings due to the Ji Dao sect's plot. The sect master had actually brought back the same number of immortal kings when he went out, easily making up for the losses caused by the sect. The Qianqing School's title of the 13 immortal kings was real. Shui Wuyao looked at the immortal kings of the Qianqing School and coughed. Well, which immortal king is interested in coming out for a few rounds? As soon as he raised his butt, Zhang Xiu knew what he was going to fart. Wasn't this guy just because he had given birth to a sword soul and a soul mutation, and his strength was higher than ordinary immortal kings? He wanted to use this to show off and feel superior. On the other hand, he also wanted to establish his prestige in the Sky Motion sect so that he could have some status in the sect in the future. It wasn't that Zhang Xiu didn't want to stop him, but that he couldn't. If he stopped him this time, Shui Wuyao would do the same next time. Shui Wuyao wouldn't stop until he showed his ability and found a better position. And this was what he deserved. Based on one's strength, one would be able to occupy a seat. This was the tradition of the immortal martial arts. Immortal cultivators recognized this. However, Zhang Xiu disdained to watch Shui Wuyao show off because he already knew the result. Ordinary immortal kings were definitely not a match for someone who had a sword soul. Elder Shui has just arrived. Shouldn't you stay here first? As for the sparring, there will be plenty of time in the future. The disciplinary elder said. Although he didn't know where Shui Wuyao was going, he felt that since he was here, he should settle down first and let him feel at home. Right. Qianqing School has a lot of empty spaces in the upper 3 heavens. See which one Elder Shui likes. This elder will immediately send someone to build it for you. If you like the old ones, you can move in at any time. Shui Wuyao said, this kind of small matter is not important. Let's fight first and let you see this elder's sword soul. He couldn't wait to say it. Sword soul. Everyone present was shocked and looked at each other in dismay. Elder Shui's soul mutated? Sword soul was not a joke. All sword cultivators regarded this as their ultimate goal. Now that there was such a person standing in front of them, how could they not be shocked? The sword soul's soul mutation was different from others. It could be said that it was the strongest soul mutation. Not bad. Shui Wuyao was very proud of himself. Although he had gone crazy and suffered a lot of humiliation, the sword soul was an unexpected harvest. If he had known that going crazy would bring him such benefits, then he would have gone crazy long ago. Forget it, you can talk about it after you defeat Yan Xulong. Zhang Xiu threw a bucket of cold water over him. You're just a soul mutation, what are you bragging about? Did I, the God Emperor, say anything? Then again, Shui Wuyao might not be Yan Shulong's opponent. Yan Shulong was not restrained by swords, but he was afraid of large-scale evil-subduing formations. Even if Shui Wuyao could gain the upper hand, it was impossible for him to defeat Yan Shulong. However, the speaker had no intention of speaking, but the listener had a heart. What? That demon was so strong that even a soul mutation immortal king could not do anything to it. Didn't that mean that they were all food on the opponent's plate? The other sect's elders were even more so. Thinking about this, he was once again stunned. A soul mutation immortal king, a demon stronger than a soul mutation immortal king, Yang Xinyang, and one of the 3 strongest immortal doctors in the immortal martial continent, Ji Wuhua. With the addition of these people, the Qianqing school's strength did not decrease at all. Instead, it increased by a lot. The sect master was still as monstrous as before. All right, Xiaoya. This subordinate is here. Zhang Xiu opened his mouth and said, "First, prepare a banquet to welcome everyone. After that, we will hold a sect meeting. This sovereign wants to announce the addition of these people and let the world know." Zhen Yi glanced at Shui Wuyao. The latter had her arms crossed in front of her chest like an angry woman. Zhen Yi laughed in his heart. "If my master wants to show off, everyone can only watch." After that, the Qianqing school held a grand ceremony to worship the heavens, allowing 4 people and 1 demon to enter the sect. In the immortal martial continent, joining a sect was an extremely grand affair. Almost everyone would join a sect and those who entered would die. These few people, especially those from the immortal tribulation sect, could be considered special cases. However, they didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. After all, they were the ones who wanted to join the immortal tribulation sect. The 3 immortal kings were naturally all conferred the title of elder and received the relevant authority. However, Ji Wuhua refused. She was a person who focused on medicine. In addition, she considered herself to be Zhang Xiu's servant. At the banquet after the ceremony, Shui Wuyao could not hold it in any longer and found an immortal king to show off her might. She shocked everyone in the sect and then returned to her palace in satisfaction. Apart from Su Ying, all the elders in the Qianqing school had the right to accept disciples. In order to blend in, of course they had to accept some disciples. At the very least, they had to accept someone to pretend to be a disciple. If that happened, the disciples below would be racking their brains again. After the turbulent Qianqing school returned to peace, it soon ushered in the evening. It was faintly better than before. Not to mention, Zhang Xiu had advanced to the immortal emperor realm. On the immortal burial mountain, Zhang Xiu carried a pot of wine and sat beside his master's tomb. He poured the whole pot of wine on top of it. "Master, the Qianqing school is back on track. I have fulfilled my boast and reached the immortal emperor realm. But unfortunately, you have been gone for many years. Drink more." After pouring all the wine, Zhang Xiu pondered for a while and then said, "I am going to look for the Lingxi pavilion. The goddess should be an ancient god, but judging from the situation, her cultivation is only at the immortal emperor realm. She might even be an incomplete immortal emperor. I can't be passive all the time. This is not my style. I have to find her. Whether the Lingxi pavilion gains anything or not, I may have to go back to Earth. Earth is my hometown, the place where you met me. I have to find the answer. Things are not clear. I feel like I am living in a daze. This is not my style either." Someone came from afar. It was Zhen Yi. He did not dare to make a sound and stood in the distance. He only came over when Zhang Xiu waved at him. "What's the matter?" Zhen Yi said, "I still can't break through. The Immortal King realm is too far away from me. And the Sex Q sword is such an important position. I can't bear it. I want to give it to a worthy person. Previously, there was no one. Why is Elder Shui here? He is much more qualified than I am." Zhang Xiu knew Zhen Yi. He did not come here to pretend to be polite. This should be his true thoughts. However, because of this, Zhang Xiu was unhappy. He frowned and said, "You are my only disciple. I don't ask you to inherit my mantle. Can't you bear the responsibility of Q-sword? I am useless. Gen-E was ashamed. Since you know you are useless, then work harder than others. Yes. Gen-Yi's talent was actually very good. If he could catch Zhang Xiu's attention, of course, he would not be bad. However, sometimes people needed luck. In this aspect, Gen-E was a little worse. It seemed that he did not have much luck. In this aspect, Zhang Xiu was very strong. Many aspects made him who he was now. Zhang Xiu did not judge people based on their current situation. He would look at a person's talent and overall situation. If it was said that Zhang Xiu did not have selfish motives, he definitely did. He wanted to pass the position of Chenqing School's headmaster to his disciple. Gen-E was the closest. Now he had become the only choice. However, now that he had advanced to the immortal emperor realm, he did not have to worry about his lifespan. He could live as long as he wanted. He had enough time and patience. He was just afraid that Gen-E would not be able to grow. In a few days, I will be going out. The sect will still be entrusted to you and Xiaoya. Gen-E was shocked. Master is going out again? Zhang Xiu nodded solemnly. This time, it's hard to say when I will go. At the same time, Zhang Xiu was not very confident. He was able to become a mortal emperor. The Lingxi Pavilion had existed for so many years and did not participate in the struggle. Its inheritance should be well protected. There might be emperor-level masters or have a good relationship with some emperor-level masters. To the Lingxi Pavilion. Gen-E was shocked, but he did not dare to ask more. Let me accompany you, master. Zhang Xiu waved his hand. You stay in the sect and take care of yourself. Zhang Xiu regarded the matter of the goddess as his own privacy. He did not want to go to someone else's place. Not only did he not bring Gen-E, but he also did not bring anyone else, including Shui Wuyao and Yang Xinyang. A few days later, Zhang Xiu left the sect and went to the Lingxi Pavilion. At this time, the Lingxi Pavilion was in chaos. What happened in the Immortal Tribulation sect would eventually fall into the ears of the Lingxi Pavilion's intelligence personnel. They did not know the details. After all, it was an internal matter and could not be exposed to the public. Therefore, the Lingxi Pavilion sent a large number of people to investigate. Chapter 770. At this moment, Zhang Xiu was also thinking about this matter. Intelligence had always been the most valuable thing in human activities. Whether it was the confrontation between two armies or the big data of a business competition, intelligence was always of the utmost importance. The Consonance Pavilion was able to know everything in the world, whether it was because they had a spy or because they had accumulated an intelligence network over the years. Zhang Xiu had always believed that it was the intelligence network. He was already a divine emperor, so it was impossible for him to know everything in the world. What if it wasn't a secret technique, but a treasure? Of course, it was possible. But if that was the case, the second master of the Consonance Pavilion wouldn't have been threatened by Zhang Xiu and almost destroyed the Consonance Pavilion's reputation. Therefore, Zhang Xiu firmly believed that the Consonance Pavilion might have some secret techniques or treasures that could be used to spy on secrets, but they weren't that magical. Everything was built on the intelligence network. As long as someone was in contact with the outside world and collected information, there would be a way to find them. No matter how strict the organization was, Zhang Xiu believed that there would be a flaw. Moreover, he wasn't completely clueless about the Consonance Pavilion. In the past, the West Sea was now the Free Paradise, which was in the far west of the continent. Speaking of which, it was in the direction of Western Zhou, not far from the retrograde Leaf's bitter territory. Zhang Xiu had only heard of it from others before. Due to its extreme remoteness and its unique environment, it was considered to be the origin of mankind. However, it was a barren land. That was how it was. Not everyone was willing to stay in such a place. However, the people from the Consonance Pavilion did not have to make things difficult for themselves. He reckoned that the environment there would be slightly better. The Consonance Pavilion was located on the drifting sky tree. According to ancient records, the drifting sky tree was a precious tree that even divine birds were willing to rest on. It was incomparably huge, so the consonant's pavilion should be very comfortable. The surroundings were desolate, and outsiders couldn't get close to them. The place they lived in was comfortable, and it wasn't uncomfortable to stay there. This was the biggest reason why the consonant's pavilion was so mysterious. Zhang Xiu didn't stop at Western Zhou. He flew past it, then flew over the seafood, and continued on to Xi'er. Zhang Xiu really didn't know how big the immortal martial continent was. Most likely, no one knew either. It was unlike Earth, where everything could be seen at a glance. Along the way, Zhang Xiu saw different customs. Gradually, he began to feel that this place was vast but sparsely populated. When he fought with the retrograde leaf in the Bitter Realm, it seemed that although the Bitter Realm was not as vast as a province, it was still 1/5 of its size. It was so huge, but there were not many people. It was said that it could be counted, which showed how poor it was. Because there was no one, and humans were a race that craved pleasure, Retrograde Leaf had no choice but to accept a demonic god as his disciple. In the end, he was betrayed. Was the Bitter Realm ahead? Zhang Xiu thought of a desolate and misty place filled with black smoke. This was the minor fate art. In order to obtain some information in advance, he would work hard to use it. Ever since he became a demonic emperor, Zhang Xiu didn't know where to start cultivating, so he began to focus on the minor fate art. The minor fate art was extremely strange. It was as if there was no cultivation method, and everything was random. Sometimes he could see the wheel of fate, and sometimes he couldn't see the wheel of fate. Now, he saw it again. I wonder if the retrograde leaf is here? The retrograde leaf could be considered a good friend of his. This friendship was especially precious. It was formed when Zhang Xiu was in dire straits. However, he really didn't like the Bitter Realm. Just feeling it from afar was unbearable. Not to mention the desolation and silence, there was a kind of lifeless atmosphere, and also a kind of indescribable sadness. In short, it was bitter, painful, miserable, and all kinds of feelings of not being able to obtain, and all kinds of feelings of losing loved ones. In this kind of situation, people would become very depressed. Zhang Xiu found it very strange. Why didn't the retrograde leaf get depressed? It's best if he's not here. Cultivator God thought to himself with a bit of mischief. He really did knock on Zhang Xiu's door. Under the minor fate art, Zhang Xiu made a trip to the Immortal Aversion Palace, but he wasn't there. Since he wasn't there, Zhang Xiu didn't go there. He flew past the Bitter Realm of the Bitter Realm. Even if he flew from above, the black smoke floating in the sky made Zhang Xiu feel uncomfortable. After flying for 3 days, a huge mountain appeared in the distance. There were many demonic immortals in the mountain. Some people said that this was the demonic realm, the place where the demonic immortals resided. In order to avoid trouble, a powerful godly emperor's aura spread out. Immediately, the Yao gods in the mountain range trembled in fear. Some even howled. The entire region was enveloped by an unprecedented pressure. Edited by Lifer, Fingerfox. After half a day, Zhang Xiu flew across the land. Cities appeared in front of him. At superfast speed, it didn't take long for him to reach the sky. The noise from below could be heard. It was actually a place like a country. Is this the Wanderer Realm? Zhang Xiu quickly appeared in the crowd below. His gaze swept across a radius of dozens of miles. It didn't seem like it. After traveling for so many days, he felt tired and looked for a place to rest. His eyes didn't relax. Ever since he started looking for the Consonance Pavilion and confirmed that the Consonance Pavilion's information was a man-made intelligence network, he paid special attention to the people on the road. Zhang Xiu believed that even if they didn't communicate face-to-face, they would still pass on information. In order to prevent it from being leaked or discovered, they must have a unique communication method that others couldn't understand. For example, secret signals, unique words, or gestures. After paying attention for more than half an hour, Zhang Xiu saw a passerby clench his fist as he walked past. This was definitely not a normal subconscious action, especially when he quickly put down his fist and walked away as if nothing had happened. This action was actually common in the army. When marching, it was inadvisable to make a sound. The officer at the front would use hand signals to give orders. This was very easy to understand. What he just did meant to stop. Whether or not he was from the Consonance Pavilion, he had to tell him that their original plan had been cancelled. Let's see who you are. Although it wasn't necessarily the Consonance Pavilion, this place was still very close to the Consonance Pavilion's base. It should be a place where information was very dense. The possibility of meeting was quite high. If Zhang Xiu wanted to follow someone now, it was easy. He didn't need to rely on a lot of weight. Within a radius of dozens of miles, or even hundreds of miles, he could clearly see your every move. If he used the world's laws, or even thousands of miles, even a slight movement of your eyebrows or a slight opening of your pores wouldn't escape his eyes. After seeing that person make the gesture, it was as if it was really a subconscious action. There were no other movements. Then, he actually returned to his home and lived his life. The more it was like this, the more Zhang Xiu felt that it was strange. He simply used the third Protoss's talent to divert a lot of attention. At the same time, he monitored everyone on the road. Since he sent out the signal, there must be someone who received it. In a situation where there was no external pressure, even if the sex laws were very strict, their hearts would always be lax. Then, there would be no foolproof way to do things. Zhang Xiu noticed that after a middle-aged man returned home, he did something very strange. He immediately returned to his study, where a temple statue was enshrined. Not to mention that the temple statue was very rough. The other party didn't have any intention of cleaning it at all. It was quite dirty and didn't look like a statue at all. The main thing was that it was an incense burner, and the lit cigarette was a little strange. Zhang Xiu seemed to smell the aura of the Lingxi Pavilion. After lighting it, he saw that he burned a talisman. After doing this, he seemed to have completed something. Then, he walked out of the study casually and paced back and forth in the house. This person is most likely from the Lingxi Pavilion. Zhang Xiu's heart skipped a beat. However, what made him feel troublesome was that the other party might not know where the Lingxi Pavilion was. They used a method that didn't allow them to meet to pass information. This was really troublesome. Even if Zhang Xiu caught this person, he wouldn't be able to get anything out of him. If he wanted to know where the Lingxi Pavilion was, he would have to get in touch with the higher-ups of the Lingxi Pavilion. Then, he would use the lower-ups to lure out the higher-ups. Right now, Zhang Xiu was scheming against an unsuspecting person. Chapter 771. Inside the tavern, Zhang Xiu muttered to himself as he took a sip of wine. The waiter noticed that this guest was acting strangely. He had been here for almost a day, yet he was sitting on the side of the road and looking out the window. It was unknown whether he was waiting for someone or thinking about something. However, when he saw that Zhang Xiu had finished his wine, he quickly ran over and refilled Zhang Xiu's cup. The tavern was the place where information was most frequently exchanged. It was also the place where it was easiest to inquire about things. Zhang Xiu casually asked, "Little brother, have you heard of the Consonance Pavilion?" The waiter smiled and said, "Guest, you must be joking. Who doesn't know about the Consonance Pavilion?" Zhang Xiu said, "What I mean is, do you know where the Consonance Pavilion is?" The waiter still had a smile on his face. "Guest, you must be joking. No one in this world knows where the Consonance Pavilion is. This is the biggest mystery in the world." Hearing this, Zhang Xiu laughed disdainfully in his heart. What kind of mystery was this? "Guest, are you a foreigner?" Zhang Xiu lightly nodded his head. "Are you here to participate in the First Heaven Towers exam?" Zhang Xiu said, "First Heaven Towers exam? What is that?" The waiter said, "The exam is for scholarly honors. Who doesn't want to be famous?" In fact, it's similar to the Green Spirit Mountain. The Green Spirit Pavilion is for martial arts, while the First Heaven Tower is for literature. The exam is for talismans, formations, knowledge, refining tools, alchemy. Of course, it can't be compared to the Green Spirit Mountain. However, it is still very famous in our area. Jiang Xiu smiled and nodded his head. His eyes became deep and cold. He raised his wine cup and took a sip. People die for wealth, birds die for food. There is no one who is not greedy. Hey, brother, are you also here to participate in the First Heaven Towers exam? A young man came over and asked. This person had a fair and clean appearance. He was holding a book in his hand and looked like a scholar. There was some immortal energy on his body, but he was not even at the level of an earth immortal. Jiang Xiu said, "Yeah. This person should be a scholar. His eyes were bright, and he should be a smart person. However, his expression was a little reserved, and he looked honest. He probably didn't go out often, and when he spoke to Jiang Xiu, he was a little shy. You too." He saw that Jiang Xiu had an extraordinary appearance, and although his attitude was cold, he didn't keep him at arm's length. A smile appeared on his face as he sat cross-legged beside Jiang Xiu and said, "I heard that the First Heaven Towers exam is very difficult." Jiang Xiu looked at him with a smile. This person's clothes were very shabby. Even though the hem was well hidden, patches could be seen. This person should be a scholar from a poor family. Jiang Xiu had a good impression of such a person. "Brother, why don't you come over and have a few drinks?" That person revealed a look of joy. "Then I'll accept your offer. I am Lu Buxuan." Jiang Xiu said, "Jiang Xiu." He pushed an empty wine cup in front of him and poured some wine for him. "Brother Lu, are you from around here?" Lu Buxuan said, "I'm just a country bumpkin, not a city dweller. I'm ashamed that I failed the exam 3 times in a row. Did Zhang Gu pass the exam?" Jiang Xiu shook his head. "Then I'll show my incompetence to Zhang Gu. I can't drink Zhang Ji's wine for nothing." Lu Buxuan was a very interesting person. The first time I took the exam, I thought it would test literary talent and knowledge. Who would have thought that I would be well prepared? However, it wasn't, and I failed. Later on, I thought it would be talismans, formations, pills, or refining. So I put in more effort in this area. However, the result was still not the same. After listening for a while, Jiang Xiu's interest was piqued. "Oh, what is the First Heaven Tower test?" Lu Buxuan said, "It tests one's character and willpower. It places special emphasis on abiding by the rules and dealing with unexpected situations. It's more like training an intelligence agent." Intelligence agent? Jiang Xiu was astonished. "Where do the people who enter the First Heaven Tower go? What do they do?" Lu Buxuan said, "Once you enter the First Heaven Tower, you're already in the First Heaven Tower. Where else can you go? As for what you do, everyone who enters the First Heaven Tower will be put in an important position and assigned tasks. Moreover, the rewards are very generous. They can live a good life, get married, have children, and carry on the family line." Jiang Xiu was greatly puzzled. He originally thought that the First Heaven Tower was a channel for some country or sect to select disciples. However, it seemed that this was not the case. It sounded more like a company, very vulgar. Everyone said that if one learned a skill, they would sell it to the Di and Wang family. However, this Lu Buxuan studied diligently just for a merit. Jiang Xiu said, "Is the First Heaven Tower's treatment that good?" Lu Buxuan said, "That's only one aspect. Also, you can raise your eyebrows and let everyone know about it. It can be said that you can gain both fame and fortune. This is an excellent stage. For cultivators, Qingling Mountain is such a stage. We're not cultivators, so we can't step on that stage. However, this stage is very suitable for us." Only then did Jiang Xiu recall that the manservant had also mentioned this earlier. A completely useless stage could actually become so famous. Jiang Xiu felt as if he could smell the scent of the Consonance Pavilion. Apart from the Consonance Pavilion, there was no one else who had such great ability. Moreover, they paid attention to intelligence. Lu Boishuan suspiciously said, "Could it be that Zhang Ge didn't come to the first heaven tower to take the test?" Zhang Xiu said, "Yes, of course." The next morning, Zhang Xiu and Lu Boishuan walked together toward the first heaven tower's examination area. From afar, they could see an ancient pagoda erected in the spacious square. Zhang Xiu, Lu Boishuan. The guard glanced at the two of them. Lu Boishuan's appearance really suited the temperament of their candidate selection. He let the two of them in and followed the group to report their names. This time's examination will last for half a month. For the first 10 days, everyone will gather together and exchange their experiences. Talismans, formations, alchemy, magical tools, etc. The examination will officially start in the next 5 days. Lu Boishuan was very experienced. However, Zhang Ge, don't underestimate the first 10 days. Do you really think that you're just having fun and relaxing exchanges? The people of the first heaven tower are all paying attention to you. The examiners are already observing our words and actions and grading us. Zhang Xiu's gaze swept through the crowd. Sure enough, there were people everywhere. Whether they were in the forest, walking, or flying in the sky, they were all supervising the examination. They were constantly evaluating each person's movements. If this was really the Consonance Pavilion's method of selecting candidates, Zhang Xiu had to admit that it was very awesome. It was even more awesome than the method of selecting candidates back on Earth. However, if someone asks you a question, you can answer it or not. Don't think that you're just chatting. Maybe the examiners are asking you. Lu Boishuan said. Just as he was speaking, he saw a pair of young men talking in front of him. With just a glance, Zhang Xiu could tell who was here to take the examination and who was the examiners. It wasn't hard to tell them apart. Any examinee would be somewhat nervous when entering the examination hall. However, as an invigilator or the person asking questions, he had nothing to be nervous about. He was already used to it. As long as he saw someone who looked relaxed, it was most likely the examiners, not the examinees. Do you think there's an immortal emperor in this world? One of them asked the other. There should be. What do you think, brother? The other person replied, I think so too. It sounded like a very simple question. However, it was a very professional and systematic way of understanding one's character. Who do you think is the strongest expert in this world? Zhang Luoxia. Zhang Xiu smiled when he heard this. However, the person who asked the question frowned. Zhang Xiu was very famous. That was because he cultivated fast enough. If they asked who was the most famous person, Zhang Luoxia might not have any objections. However, if they asked who was the strongest expert in the world, according to Zhang Xiu's estimation, there should be at least a few hundred people in the Consonance Pavilion's roster. Even after Zhang Xiu became a god and came back to beat up the rebels of the Qianqing school and the people of the Taihua sect, there should still be a few hundred people in the Consonance Pavilion's roster. Zhang Xiu knew a little about those who stood at the top of the pyramid. They had an ancient inheritance and a long lifespan. True experts didn't want to show their faces in public. In addition, even if they were greedy for fame, a few thousand years might not be a long time for them. They didn't need to come out every day to show off for fear that the world would forget them. This was really too troublesome. In fact, the longer one lived, the lonelier they would be. Everyone around them was dead. If he showed off to a stranger, he wouldn't feel much of a sense of superiority. It would only be interesting if they were old friends or old rivals. It was just like when Misty saw Zhang Xiu. The first thing she wanted to do was show off, but in the end, she was defeated. Chapter 772. When Zhang Xiu and Lu Boishuan walked inside, they saw people setting up stalls to sell pills. Some of them were really examinees, and some were also instructors. A little further away, someone was writing runes and waiting for curious people to come and ask for advice. When Zhang Xiu saw this, he simply set up a stall in the corner. He pulled out a rag from Lu Boishuan's bookshelf and wrote, "Mysterious pills. Seeking to know the origin." There was no lack of people in this world who knew their own things. When the words "seeking to know" were written, it immediately attracted many people. Lu Buoxuan also looked at the pills that Zhang Xiu put out. After the second exam, he had specialized in pills and had some knowledge of pills. However, the pills that Zhang Xiu took out were golden and shiny. He couldn't tell what they were, but he could tell at a glance that they were extraordinary. "Brother, where did you get this pill?" This was what Zhang Xiu got from the Immortal Tribulation sect. Before he left, he took some things. This pill was a first-class great golden pill. Its value was more precious than the inner core of a great heaven immortal demon god. It could even be said that it was comparable to the inner core of a king-level demon god. If a great heaven immortal like Jenny took it, there was a high chance that he would become an immortal king. The reason why Zhang Xiu didn't give it to Jenny was that if he relied on pills to advance, his potential would be squeezed dry, and it would be very difficult for him to break through again. In Zhang Xiu's opinion, the king realm was definitely not the end. It was only the 3 great laws. Giving Jenny the pill would be harming him. If a disciple's talent was limited and his lifespan was approaching its end, Zhang Xiu would consider giving it to him and let him take it to improve his cultivation and extend his lifespan. "I undoubtedly got it in an abandoned cave." This thing was well kept by the Immortal Tribulation sect. They had set up many restrictions outside. However, no matter how good the thing was, it was already of little value to Zhang Xiu at his realm. It was like eating candy with no effect. However, in the eyes of many people who had broken through to the Immortal King realm, it was a supreme treasure. Zhang Xiu believed that the people from the Consonance Pavilion would know what was good for them. Everyone gathered over, asking questions and sniffing. The spiritual power contained within was so strong that even the alchemists present who knew a little about it were surprised. However, it was not enough for them to realize that this was a great golden pill that even celestial kings coveted. "Little brother, can you let me take a look at the pill?" Of course. Zhang Xiu didn't care. This person should be an examiner. He picked up the brocade box containing the golden pill and sniffed it first. Then, he reached out and touched it to feel the golden light emitting from it. When he put it into his mouth, his expression changed greatly. "Great golden pill level. How is this possible? Little brother, where did you get this medicinal pill?" The surrounding people were in an uproar when they heard that. In the cave, the way everyone looked at Zhang Xiu had changed. Their gazes were blazing. This brat's luck was too good. He had picked up a big golden pill. It was simply unreasonable. Even if Zhang Xiu gave Ji Wuhua all the materials, she might not be able to refine such a medicinal pill in 300 to 500 years. Zhang Xiu said that he had picked it up. No wonder these people were going crazy. "Little brother, I want this medicinal pill of yours. Give me a price." Zhang Xiu sneered in his heart. A great golden pill could be bought with money. This fellow obviously wanted to take advantage of Zhang Xiu's ignorance and wanted to pick up a bargain. Before Zhang Xiu could say anything, the person beside him was unhappy. He also wanted to pick up a bargain. "Can a great golden pill be bought with money?" "Brother, sell it to me. You can name any price you want. I'll give you 500,000 spirit stones. I'll give you 1,000,000. 1,000,000 spirit stones could be piled up into a mountain. To many people, this was simply an unimaginable number. However, the price was still soaring. A great celestial immortal could become an immortal king by consuming a great golden pill. It was a mad scramble. So this is a teacher of the heavenly tower. No wonder his status is so high. His cultivation should be very high as well. He might even become an immortal king after consuming this medicinal pill. However, Zhang Xiu said, "I'm not selling. Not selling." How could this be? Such a precious treasure was right in front of him. How could he just let it slip by? Wouldn't he regret it for the rest of his life? Such an opportunity could only be encountered by chance. That's too regrettable. The teacher said, "Little brother, this medicinal pill has an extraordinary value. It's very important to me, but it might not be of much use to you. Why don't you sell it to me?" I'll agree to any conditions you have. Wherever there were people, there would be corruption. Unless the people of the Consonance Pavilion were all machines, they could not escape the greed of human nature. I'm really not selling. I just want to know what level this medicinal pill is. Zhang Xiu refused directly. The fish had already taken the bait. He was not anxious at all. The one who was anxious was the other party. At this time, a middle-aged woman hurried over. Seeing this woman, many people couldn't help but bow slightly. She should be someone from the heavenly tower, and her status should not be low. Lu Boishuan, who was beside Zhang Xiu, said softly, "She seems to be the tower master of the heavenly tower." The higher-ups had arrived. "Let me see the medicinal pill." That person handed the medicinal pill over. Although he was unwilling, there was nothing he could do. The middle-aged woman took the medicinal pill, glanced at it, and sniffed it. 9 great golden pills. "Little brother, let me have this medicinal pill." "I'll agree to any conditions." "Master, I was the one who saw this pill first." That person became anxious. "Although you're the tower master, you should pay attention to first come, first served. You're blatantly interfering. That's too unreasonable." Zhang Xiu was in a difficult position. "Actually, I don't mind keeping this medicinal pill. I don't mind giving it to you, but I have a condition." The female master asked in unison, "What condition?" Zhang Xiu said, "I have a wish. I want to learn the Consonance Pavilion's consonants' heavenly illumination." Suddenly, the crowd quieted down. The consonants' heavenly illumination was a secret technique of the Consonance Pavilion. Not many people knew about it, but it wasn't rare either. Only a few people knew about it. Zhang Xiu had heard from an old friend that the consonants' heavenly illumination was a secret technique of the Consonance Pavilion. Of course, he wasn't interested in learning it, so he just offered an olive branch. "If anyone can help me get the consonants' heavenly illumination, I'll exchange it with them." The female master coldly snorted. "What a big tone. Do you know what the consonants' heavenly illumination is? You actually—" When the words came out of her mouth, she realized that she had lost her composure. The other party might have just wanted her to back off. Of course, there was also the possibility that he really wanted to learn it. Exchanging a golden core for the consonants' heavenly illumination sounded a little ridiculous, but from Zhang Xiu's point of view, it was easy to understand. With a good card in hand, of course he would want to maximize the benefits. The person who had vowed to get the medicinal pill at the beginning didn't speak anymore. This matter was probably beyond his ability. Other than regret, there was only helplessness left on his face. The female master was still muttering to herself. Zhang Xiu was confused. She might really be able to get the consonants' heavenly illumination. This meant that her position in the Consonance Pavilion wasn't low. From the perspective of controlling a cultivation institution, her position should be quite high. After all, everyone who left here would be her students and disciples, so they should be considered as part of her faction. Zhang Xiu said, "Since it's not possible, then forget it. I don't necessarily have to sell this medicinal pill." Hearing Zhang Xiu say this, the female master muttered, "This little brother, although the golden core is precious, its value is far from being comparable to the consonant's heavenly illumination." After all, the medicinal pill is a one-time use item, while the consonant's heavenly illumination is a secret technique that has endless benefits. Zhang Xiu said, "In this day and age, nothing is equivalent. In the desert, when you're about to die of thirst, a drop of water is worth more than 1,000 gold. This mainly depends on the demand, not the value itself." When the people present heard Zhang Xiu say this, they all nodded in agreement. The supply relationship was mainly based on demand. The female master should be someone with a high status here. No one should have ever dared to say no to her, much less refute her in front of everyone. This put her on the spot, and her face became a little ugly. Zhang Xiu saw that although she still maintained a smile on her face, her eyes flashed with an imperceptible haze. Zhang Xiu thought that she most likely had bad intentions. However, the female master laughed and said, "This little brother's words are very reasonable. However, your conditions are a little too high. It's basically impossible for anyone to make a deal with you. How about this? As long as you change your mind and change your conditions, you can come and discuss it with me. I welcome you at any time. Chapter 773. When Jiang Xiu packed up his stall and prepared to leave with Lu Boishuan, many people were laughing in their hearts. This brat was in trouble. He couldn't show off his wealth. After all, the other party was the tower master of the first heaven tower. The person who recognized the great golden pill first had already thought of a plan. If Jiang Xiu didn't give it to him, he would make a move. Now that Jiang Xiu was targeted by the tower master, how could he have a share? The current Jiang Xiu could be said to be a wolf, a tiger, and a leopard. Soon, Jiang Xiu and Lu Boishuan packed up their stall and left. When the surrounding people saw Jiang Xiu, it was as if they had seen a god of plague. They quickly moved away, as if they would suffer a calamity if they got too close to him. Jiang Xiu naturally didn't mind. Lu Boishuan wasn't stupid either. He said, "Jiang Ge, you have such an important item on you. You have to be careful when you go in and out." Jiang Xiu said, "I'm afraid of them. They can't hurt me." "Forget it." Lu Boishuan said worriedly, "That's the tower master of the first heaven tower. Her cultivation is extremely high. Even the sect leaders of ordinary sects are far from being her match." Jiang Xiu thought to himself, "Of course not." The person in charge of gathering talents in the Consonance Pavilion was not an ordinary person. She was a dignified immortal king. However, Jiang Xiu wouldn't explain too much to him. He only smiled indifferently. At noon, everyone in the examination hall dispersed. Jiang Xiu and Lu Boishuan returned to the tavern. When they passed by an alley, a figure walked out. The person was wearing a black windbreaker and his appearance couldn't be seen clearly. However, Jiang Xiu could tell from his aura that he was the first person to ask for the price. "It seems like you've already sensed that someone will make a move on you." He took the risk of making a move before the tower master. A great golden pill was too rare. Even if he offended the tower master, he wouldn't hesitate. The allure of this medicinal pill is really great. You'd rather fall out with your pavilion master to obtain it before he does. Jiang Xiu couldn't help but sigh. People would die for wealth. Cut the crap. If you don't want to die, hand over the big gold core. His gloomy face in the shadows moved ferociously. Jiang Ge, Jiang Ge. Lu Boishuan was so scared that his mouth trembled. Could it be that he wants to kill and steal the treasure? That person said, "Get lost if you don't want to die." Lu Boishuan hurriedly hid behind Jiang Xiu, but he didn't escape. He was still loyal to his friends. What was rare was that he was just a scholar. "Give me the great gold pill." That person didn't argue with Lu Boishuan, he just wanted to get the pill as soon as possible. Jiang Xiu said, "If you want it, come and get it yourself. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit." That person had been waiting for a long time. His body shot forward like a waterfall, wanting to behead Jiang Xiu with one sword. His move could be said to be extremely ruthless. This was the so-called not fighting for the Consonance Pavilion. "Careful!" Lu Boishuan cried out. Ding! A crisp sound rang out. The sword light strangely bounced back in the air, flying back from where Jiang Xiu was. With a poochie sound, the sword light flashed past his throat. The sword he shot out bounced back, cutting his own throat. He painfully covered his throat, fresh blood flowing out from the gaps between his fingers. He wanted to speak, but only gurgling sounds came from his throat. His eyes almost fell out of their sockets as he fell to the ground with a plop. Dead, dead. Lu Boishuan was extremely shocked, asking Jiang Xiu in disbelief. How is this possible? Although he didn't know who this person was, it seemed that his status wasn't low. The moment he made a move, heaven and earth were filled with killing intent. He was in a sluggish state at that moment, but he suddenly died. This contrast was too big. After seeing that the people on the ground were really dead, he sincerely said, "You're so powerful. Let's go, the best part is yet to come." Jiang Xiu bypassed the bloodstains and walked forward. Lu Buoxuan hurriedly followed, looking back from time to time. The shock in his heart didn't calm down for a long time. "Jiang Gu, you're a cultivator?" Jiang Xiu nodded. Just now, he beheaded a person, as if he was crushing an ant, without the slightest emotional fluctuation. Lu Buoxuan was secretly shocked. "Who the hell are you? Although you're a cultivator, and your strength is very strong, you're definitely not a match for the housemaster. Take advantage of the opportunity now, quickly run for your life." However, after turning the corner, he saw 2 more people. It seemed that there were quite a few people who had their eyes on Jiang Xiu. Jiang Xiu didn't even look at them, and directly walked past them. The 2 people who hadn't made a move yet had already fallen to the ground. Lu Buoxuan was shocked once again. And at this time, a person on a roof 1 mile away saw this scene and secretly frowned. He muttered to himself for a moment, then turned around and left. Very soon, he appeared beside the female housemaster. The female master asked, "How is the other party?" "He's an expert, and his cultivation shouldn't be low. Bai Dingpeng was killed by him with a single sword strike. The other 2 greedy people didn't even have time to make a move before they were killed. I didn't even see his technique." The female master asked, "What level do you think the other party is at?" That person muttered, "He should be close to the great deity level, or close to it. In front of the master, he's not even worth mentioning." Suddenly, he felt something flowing out from the corner of his mouth. He stretched out his hand and touched it. It was bright red blood. Immediately, blood flowed out from his eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. "What's going on?" That person screamed in pain. "It's so painful." With a roar, his entire hair and clothes flew up, and the surrounding air surged. Then, it suddenly quieted down. He drooped his head and didn't move. He checked his breathing, and there was already no breath. "Dead, he's dead." The female master was greatly shocked. What kind of secret technique is this? When did the other party make a move, and how did they know about him? That person is actually such an expert. She realized that the opponent was an assassin. At this moment, Jiang Xiu smiled coldly. He had already passed through the dark alley, and returned to the tavern. Lu Buoxuan also returned to the tavern. The latter's heart was still beating wildly. "Jiang Xiu, are you really not planning to leave?" Jiang Xiu shook his head. He sat down cross-legged, and ordered a waiter to bring him a pot of wine. He also ordered a pot for Lu Buoxuan. This wine was to praise him for not abandoning his companions and running away. Although it was useless, his character was not bad. After that day, the female master didn't pay him a visit. She was much more composed than Jiang Xiu had imagined. "If you don't come to find me, then I'll go find you." When night fell, Jiang Xiu disappeared from his room. The next moment, he appeared on the roof where that person had observed him during the day. The night breeze was gentle, and the bright moon was hanging in the sky. Jiang Xiu's eyes were like lightning. He could clearly see the path that person had taken with the escape technique. Following the path, he found the place he wanted to go. "Who's there?" The female master was very alert. "It's you." When she saw Jiang Xiu, she was greatly shocked. The place she was currently at was a secret branch of the Consonance Pavilion, hidden in the city. "How did Jiang Xiu find her? Didn't you say that I can come and talk to you about any conditions?" The female master had of course said that. Before, she had thought that Jiang Xiu was a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. But now, she knew that he was actually a wolf. Although she was still thinking about Jiang Xiu's great golden core, she was also a bit more afraid. This person was not simple. What conditions? Jiang Xiu said bluntly, "It's very simple. Take me to the Consonance Pavilion." "What?" The female master was shocked. Obviously, she was very surprised. The Consonance Pavilion had always stood aloof from worldly affairs. Of course, Many people wanted to know where the Consonance Pavilion was. Many people had even put in a lot of effort to find the Consonance Pavilion. However, Zhang Xiu was the first person to pay such a huge price to find the Consonance Pavilion. How would I know where the Consonance Pavilion is? This is a mystery under the heavens. Moreover, why are you going to the Consonance Pavilion? Zhang Xiu said, "The Heavenly Tower is the place where the Consonance Pavilion recruits talents. You are the Tower Lord of the Heavenly Tower. With such an important position, how could you not know where the Consonance Pavilion is?" Hearing this, the female master could no longer remain calm. The Heavenly Tower selection of intelligence personnel for the Consonance Pavilion was a secret. Moreover, out of the tens of thousands of people who were assigned, only 1 or 2 people could truly work. They didn't even know who they were working for. This place had very strict rules and regulations. "Who exactly are you?" Zhang Xiu took out the great golden core. Under the illumination of the night, the golden core shone even more brightly. "You don't need to know who I am. Just tell me, do you want this golden core or not?" The female master muttered to herself. She really wanted the great golden core, but bringing an outsider to the Consonance Pavilion was a big taboo. "I don't want this golden core." Zhang Xiu said, "It's not up to you." "What? Do you want to fight me?" You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.